Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Nutrition, head over to InfoWarsTeam.com. Your body will be very grateful.
On the web at InfoWarsTeam.com. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. We're now down to 4 as Ben Carson has abandoned his campaign.
Dr. Ben Carson accusing the Cruz campaign of playing dirty tricks to win the Iowa caucus.
As Christians, of course, we accept people's apologies, but we also have to ask ourselves, is this acceptable, or should there be some accountability?
Tonight, the establishment unleashes its attack chihuahua, Marco Rubio, at the next GOP debate. Will still be quite a circus, as Rubio and Cruz will be joined by Megyn Kelly and the trained SEALs from Fox News as they try to take down Donald Trump. Join the Infowars Nightly News staff for live commentary and analysis of the debate. We'll give you the backstory, the full story, and we'll open our phone lines so you can call in and tell us how you see it.
The damage was done to me. It wasn't done to them.
You can live stream on YouTube at the Alex Jones channel or on Prison Planet TV. Coverage begins at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
My fellow InfoWarriors, I am very excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off, and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win, and the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News live coverage of the next GOP debate, which is tonight, 2 days after Super Tuesday. I'm David Knight with Leanne McAdoo. We're going to have the rest of the news crew here tonight. We're going to give you some news before the debate starts in about an hour. And then we're going to do a live coverage of the debate with all of our staff here. Jakari Jackson, Joe Biggs will all be joining us, along with Rob Dew and others in the control room. Of course, today, Leanne, it was no coincidence that Mitt Romney chose the day of the debate after Super Tuesday to basically come out of wherever he's been holed up for the last 4 years.
Right.
After this humiliating defeat that he had 4 years ago, after running for president for an 8-year period and not being able to do anything, manage anything other than one loss for the nomination and getting the nomination, but then losing to Obama. He now comes out on the day, interestingly enough, he goes to the Hinckley Institute in Utah, an institute that lists among its alumni Karl Rove, the political assassin. And I don't know if the Hinckley Institute is associated with the John Hinckley family. Of course, there's a lot of Hinckleys that were very wealthy. They endowed, there's an endowment of John and Ann Hinckley of the Hinckley Institute. But nevertheless, kind of a veiled reference, not only maybe a threat, but also the fact that he's coming out on this day of the debate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been, like you said, missing in action for the last 4 years, really. And then he just starts sending out all of these tweets, saying really attacking Donald Trump, of course. And it's kind of interesting being there with an insider now who said, this is what they're planning, this is what's going to happen.
Yes.
And then, lo and behold, it's exactly how he said it was going to be.
Well, of course, we've had Donald Trump respond and essentially say that he's a loser, and that's very, very true. If you go back and you look, I thought this was an interesting comparison to go back and look at where they were 4 years ago on Super Tuesday. Where was Mitt Romney 4 years ago versus Donald Trump? And if you look at just the states that have voted, because they had a different number of states. They had quite a few more states that voted by Super Tuesday 4 years ago than they have this time. But we've had 12 states that have voted up to this point that had also voted up to this point 4 years ago. And if we compare those states from 4 years ago to how Donald Trump is doing, it is huge. If we could pull up that graphic, it'd be very interesting, because if you look at places like, for instance, Massachusetts, where Mitt Romney was a governor, and where he came in first place, he got 45,000 votes less than Donald Trump did when he won Massachusetts on Tuesday. That's 17% less. And if you go across the board of the states, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, Alaska, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Vermont, Virginia, those are all states that by this time 4 years ago had voted and have also voted this time. If you look at that, you see that Donald Trump has gotten 69% more votes than Mitt Romney did 4 years ago. He got a little over 2 million, 2.1 million votes versus 1.2 million for Mitt Romney at this point. Mitt Romney was 6-6. He had only won half of the primaries, whereas Donald Trump has won 67% of the primaries. He's 8, and with 4 that he came in either second or third place. In other words, Mitt Romney is not doing nearly as well.
Right, and also he had a lot less competition.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was up, at least until yesterday, up against 5+ people.
That's right.
And here he was going against Santorum and Gingrich.
Yeah, and you have a situation where Mitt Romney did not win New Hampshire and South Carolina. He lost South Carolina to Newt Gingrich. That's why Sheldon Adelson jumped in with $10 million after South Carolina.
Yeah, where was Romney's fire a few years back when he was running against Obama? He didn't have the fire and the intensity that came out attacking Trump when he was going after Obama. And the fact that he was weak and had a horrible campaign, we had to get 4 more years of Obama.
Exactly.
So it's really interesting that he all of a sudden decides to come out of the woodworks and then have this fire lit up under him. And then
hang on a second, Joe. I'll let you finish that point. Guys, get ready to play that clip of Rick Santelli on Romney. Go ahead. What you were saying is exactly right, Joe. We're going to reinforce that because you're not the only one who's saying that. There's also Rick Santelli who is saying it. Go ahead.
I mean, it's interesting. He comes out today in this, speech in Utah, and he's talking about how, Donald Trump's a horrible businessman, yada, yada, yada. But then you go back to, 2012, and Romney is sitting there shaking hands with Donald Trump on stage, praising him, saying he's a great businessman.
He's such
someone who's
awesome
created
guy.
so many jobs for people.
He's a better businessman than I am, I think, is the exact
and
quote.
then today he comes out completely flip-flopping, like just out of nowhere. I mean, the GOP is stretching. They're desperate. They're doing everything they can.
When I see, Mitt Romney go on stage, I honestly think he's trying to throw it for the Democrats. The only thing he can do is possibly take votes away from Trump if he decides to get into the race, which means that it's going to be more concerted effort going towards Hillary.
I think you're exactly right, Jakari, and we're going to talk about that more in detail. Yeah. Before we get away, though, from how Mitt Romney had essentially no backbone and completely, I guess to use Trump's phrases, choked when he ran, let's listen to what Rick Santelli said today.
I haven't seen this Mitt Romney. As a matter of fact, the only word I could think of is irony, and I'll tell you where my mind is going. You recall that on September 11, 2012, our consulate in Benghazi was attacked. There was a debate 5 weeks later on CNN. The moderator was Candy Crowley. And basically, she did something I've never seen ever in a debate ever. She inserted herself to stand up for the president and how he labeled what happened that night. And Mitt Romney did not show this kind of courage, because if he would have walked off the stage like a Donald Trump would have done, he'd probably be president today. So I guess I'm a little lost that all of a sudden he has a courage that he didn't display at a time where the vice president, Biden, and the current president...
Yeah, let's stop it right there at that point, because he made a very, very strong point. He says, where was this Mitt Romney 4 years ago when he was running for president? Why wouldn't he oppose Obama as strongly as he is opposing Trump at this point? And remember, that debate was 5 weeks after Benghazi. Why didn't he come after Obama more strongly? Why didn't he show what was going on with Hillary Clinton at that point?
Well, that
he
shows
let
you,
them get away with it.
That shows you what's been happening the last 4 years. He's been in the hospital. He actually had a backbone inserted into his body, and it's finally healed up, and now he's got his big boy pants on and decided to actually do something.
But it's why a lot of people have said, who support Donald Trump, that he's the only one who can beat Hillary Clinton. Because the rest of the GOP establishment isn't really going to challenge her on these issues.
Right.
They'll take a powder on it just like Mitt Romney did. They don't want to get too confrontational. They don't want to yell and scream about something as horrible as what happened with Benghazi and the lies and cover-up that followed up on that. Because this was, remember, 5 weeks after Benghazi. So by that time, we knew that phony story about a riot in a reaction to a movie that nobody had ever seen. We knew that that was a pack of lies. And so to allow that to happen, I think, is really telling. And that's, I think, what Donald Trump will not do if he goes up against Hillary. I think that's why he's the only one that's going to be able to beat her.
I run into a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters on a daily basis. Obviously, we live in Austin, Texas. You know, it's littered with them everywhere. But the reason a lot of people support Bernie Sanders is because he's anti-establishment. Donald Trump is pretty anti-establishment at this point in time. And you can see a lot of these people that I've talked to, they said that they would rather vote for Donald Trump if Bernie does not get the nomination to beat Hillary Clinton, because most people can come together and agree that she is evil. She is probably one of the worst people out there right now. I mean, the things she's done, she's gotten away with, she's getting away with, she's being looked at by the FBI, and yet they want to talk about Trump because he didn't disavow.
Well, yeah.
He did disavow.
Yeah, I know, but they're
not the way they wanted.
Yeah, even I did a man on the street just yesterday. We went out in the streets and we were asking people, and I was just talking to a lady out there. She seemed very informed. She's a Bernie Sanders fan, and I was like, why Bernie over Hillary? He's like, I just don't trust that woman. You know, so it's not just us. You know, I guess what you would call the conservatives, many of the liberals and the Democrats don't trust Hillary as well.
And a lot of the feminists, too, that I've talked to, they said, I want a woman as a president, but not her.
Yeah.
Let me give the Bernie Sanders supporters another reason to vote for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton if it turns out to be that choice. There's an article that was on Politico. GOP hawks declare war on Trump, because, you know, that's what neocons do. They declare war on people. They point out, hey, he called the Iraq War a lie. He called for neutral arbitration between Israel and Palestine. He says, why are we always the ones to be at the forefront of every war situation? And so Politico points out that even more so than on economic issues, his stance on foreign policy challenges GOP neocons. And so they're all coming out of the wall, and you got all these people. That's
what's so telling.
Exactly. Got all these neocons, most of them involved with the Council on Foreign Relations, coming out and saying, I'm losing. This is Max Boot. They call him a military historian at the Council on Foreign Relations because, you know, if you're CFR, you're an expert on whatever you choose to be an expert on. They say, Elliot Cohen says, Hillary is a lesser evil by a large margin. Max Boot says that he, too, would vote for Clinton over Trump. I'm literally losing sleep over Donald Trump. She would be vastly preferable to Donald Trump. Why? Because she would allow things like an arbitrary imposition of a no-fly zone over Syria, because she supported these wars. They know, the neocons know they could get Hillary Clinton to support these wars, and Donald Trump is not doing that.
He's not playing ball.
Exactly. And you look at people like Robert Zellick, another one who's come out here, former deputy to Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. Again, Heidi Cruz worked for Condoleezza Rice. She also was working with Robert Zellick at the CFR, talking about the North American Union, how they can make a common border around the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So it's all of these people, to which I say, we see Mitt Romney coming out. We see all these neocons from the CFR. Why don't they just create a new party? They could even keep the acronym GOP, but they could call it the Globalist Oligarch Party, because that's what we have had from the GOP establishment, the hardcore that refuses, no matter what, to give up and give in to the will of the American people. They will support Hillary Clinton over somebody that the GOP voters want.
Right, and that's what we've said all along, is that she is the perfect one to go in there. That's why they're not going to let her fall with this whole FBI indictment. Even though this is happening, she's still the front runner there for the presidency, because she is the one who is going to take that ball all the way to the finish line for the globalists.
I love that meme that we've shown on the site. I don't have it pulled up right now, but it's the image of, you know, all the mainstream media propping up Hillary as a statue, and they're pushing her up because they just cannot let this woman fall.
Right.
No matter what she does, no matter the scandals, Benghazi, what her husband has been accused of, nothing seems to be able to...
nothing sticks.
Yeah, nothing sticks to this woman because they just say you're just sexist if you bring this stuff up.
And that's why Trump shut that down right away. And honestly, he only made that one attack. She stopped going after him. So they're going to sort of save their little attacks for when it becomes just the two of them. So that was kind of a very interesting dynamic where he just fought back against that sexism thing just that one time.
Today was good, though, too, for Trump, though, because Romney came out with a whole bunch of stuff. Really, what can Hillary come out with now at this point in time and try to hit him with? You know, Romney said some pretty bad things, a bunch of lies. I think this really is going to help Trump out in the long run because he actually had a chance to be attacked. Think about this, and this is going to help him when Hillary comes because, like you said, she's going to come at him full force, and I think that was good practice for him today to sit here and listen to what these kind of attacks are going to be from these kind of establishment people.
Yeah, and you can see how she's already setting herself up, and she's saying we need to bring love and kindness into the party, so that she's already setting herself up as like the total opposite of Trump, and it's...
And I got to say, you know, we look at her in that Chairman Mao suit that we've got there.
Leader.
Yeah, when you look at her in
Shrek?
that... My wife has suggested, she does look Shrek.
It is like Weekend at Bernie's when they got to prop up the dead body.
But perhaps she's wearing those kind of clothes, my wife said, because maybe she too is wearing a bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
Either that or a bulletproof girdle or something
bulletproof
like that.
girdle.
But you know, when I look at the transcript of the speech that Mitt Romney gave today, he's talking about things like ISIS over and over again. Let's understand where ISIS came from, Mitt. It came from Benghazi. You did not want to oppose Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama on Benghazi 5 weeks after it happened. You took a powder on that. And then, of course, he pulls out the old canard about the KKK, and he says, well, this Tapper-Trump exchange on the KKK will play 100,000 times on cable. Who knows how many millions of times on social media? There are a number of people who claim that Mr. Trump is a con man, a fake. No, you're a con man for continuing to bring that stuff up.
Yeah.
And here's another way that Mitt Romney is the real con man. Let's understand, he begins his speech by invoking multiple times Ronald Reagan. And one of the things he says is back in 1964, Ronald Reagan. Well, let's go back to 1968. It was his father, George Romney, who was running against Richard Nixon. Also, Ronald Reagan got into the race later in the spring. Now, it was interesting because in that race, which I'm sure Mitt Romney remembers very well, he was probably 20-ish, something around there. In that race, Reagan came in the spring. And Reagan only participated in Nebraska and California, but he got so many votes that he had actually a greater number of popular votes than Richard Nixon did. Richard Nixon was 9 votes short of having of the threshold that he needed to win on the first round, so they threw it into a brokered convention. That is precisely what they want to do. And I want to say one more thing before we give out the phone number, because we're going to take your calls coming up in the rest of the hour. But in 1994, he was the person who wanted to distance himself from Ronald Reagan. He was running against Ted Kennedy for the Senate, and this is what he had to say in the debates. He said, I was an independent during Reagan and Bush. I'm not trying to return to Reagan and Bush. That was Mitt Romney in 1994. Then he worked with Ted Kennedy to create Romney Care, and that's precisely what they were trying to push through 4 years ago.
Right.
What's that phone number, Leanne, that people can call in?
Well, everyone, you're going to call into 877-789-ALEX. That's 877-789-2539. Let's go ahead and get these phone lines lit up. Taking your calls.
Right. And of course, what is at stake this time is they want a candidate who is going to push the globalist agenda just like they pushed Obamacare last time. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water, and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex. My fellow InfoWarriors, I am very excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off, and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win, and the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Your liver can be full of fatty deposits, built-up toxins, and even dangerous objects known as liver stones. We worked with the top developers in the field of detox to take tried and true herbs and other compounds known to safely cleanse the liver and fused it with the latest research and technological development on concentrating these ingredients to give you the maximum effect. Liver Shield is the only liver support product on the market that uses a patented Spigirex blend of powerful organic herbs that support detoxification. And when you visit InfoWarsLife.com, see the instructional video on how to do a 6-day liver detox. This isn't a game, and let me tell you, the results are dramatic. Liver Shield is totally organic and made of the safest high-quality herbs. Liver Shield is the only liver support product on the market that uses a patented Spigirex blend of powerful organic herbs that support detoxification. And when you visit InfoWarsLife.com, see the instructional video on how to do a 6-day liver detox. This isn't a game, and let me tell you, the results are dramatic. Liver Shield is totally organic and made of the safest high-quality herbs. But that said, you need to consult your physician before you do the full detox. Liver Shield can also be used daily by itself for overall upkeep of the liver. Secure your Liver Shield today exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com for the lowest price available. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
And it's time for humanity to stand up in the info war and say, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this, but you want to fight, you better believe you got one.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Welcome back to the Infowars Nightly News live coverage. Tonight we have live news for this hour, and they're going to be joining the GOP debate in Michigan. First debate just 2 days after Super Tuesday, so it should be very interesting to see what happens. We've seen a big change in tone from Marco Rubio, and more interestingly, a big change in tone from Fox News. And we're going to let you call in and comment as we're covering this debate. We want your comments live during the debate as well. We're going to have our analysis and commentary. We're going to let you call in with commentary. What's that number again, Leanne?
So you're going to go ahead and get the phone lines lit up right now. Call in to 877-789-2539. That's 877-789-2539. And also, if you've got Skype, we're going to be doing something new tonight, something a little bit exciting. So if you've got Skype, stand by, because coming up later in the show during the debate, we're going to be putting out the Skype handle so that you can Skype in with us, and we'll be live on air with the rest of the Info Warriors out there. So that's exciting. Stick around. But for now, we are taking your phone calls, so give us a call.
And let's go to Darren McBreen before we go back to the news. I want to tell you something that happened that regards the standoff at the Bundy Ranch 2 years ago, nearly 2 years ago. But before we do, let's go to Darren McBreen.
Yeah, I wanted to point this out. I have some breaking news right now that's coming out of the New York Daily News. They posted a complete guide to fleeing President Donald Trump's America.
Racist.
So what this is the liberal response to a potential Donald Trump presidency, right? They are saying that left-leaning Americans all across the nation, they plan to pack it up and get out of the country should Donald Trump win. And they even, you know, by the way, they're saying this like it's a bad thing. I like this idea, and I shall support it.
Yeah, good riddance. Right. Don't they have the gif of Bugs Bunny sawing off Canada from America, and the Canadians are all like, no, we don't want it.
I'm telling you, it's a complete guide with passports. They got how to get your work visa. They even suggest other countries and places like Canada, Singapore. They suggest that you can go to parts of Mexico.
Hey, you can go to Venezuela. That's the...
yeah, it's already
Venezuela
socialist
is not
paradise.
on that list. Isn't that strange?
Oh, you know,
But
that also paradise that Bernie Sanders loves so much, that's not on the list.
Miley Cyrus said she's going to leave if Donald Trump wins. So I'm really fully behind Donald Trump.
He really is going to make America great again.
Yeah, that's we need to get rid of that woman.
This is the complete guide to a liberal evacuation of America. I think we need to stand behind them and get behind this. This is something I totally agree with. So let's back up the New York Daily Times on this.
Yeah, maybe they'll self-deport. Who knows? Now, some serious news. We see reports that there have been 2 people in regards to the Bundy Ranch standoff back in April 2004. 2 people were arrested today, one in New Hampshire, and of course, one of Cliven Bundy's sons, David, who, to my knowledge, was not even at the wash. Of course, they've charged Cliven Bundy, who was not at the wash. They've charged him with firearms violations the whole time we were there. Josh and I never saw Cliven Bundy with a firearm openly carrying. And he was not even at the standoff. But this is now being reported by TPM as a Trump campaign official arrested on federal charges linked to the Bundy Ranch. And that's not quite true. Actually, he is a co-chair of Veterans for Trump in New Hampshire. He's not somebody that has been hired by Donald Trump, but he hasn't done anything wrong, folks. This was a protest. This was nothing that really threatened any federal agents. They're trying to make it out to be that way. There are a lot of lies in this indictment that from things that I have seen in terms of the criminal complaint that was filed, and I'm assuming that it's the same as the indictment of these people. And then in Nevada, we had David Bundy, who was arrested. David Bundy had been arrested before we got there for taking pictures of these federal tyrants that were in this area. He was arrested and transported anywhere from 1 to 2 hours away to Las Vegas. They did not file any criminal charges with him. They essentially left him stranded in the town without his wallet or his phone, I believe. It was a strange situation. But now, 2 years later, the feds come back to arrest him.
Wow.
That is what we're seeing now, as well as reports of more people being harassed up in Oregon from the Daily Sheep.
David, pretty soon he's going to be head of the Trump campaign.
That's right.
That's what will come out next.
He keeps moving his way up. Yeah, first it was reported as Tea Party activist.
Confidant. You know, next he'll be Trump. It'll be Trump was arrested. I mean, it's just ridiculous what they keep doing.
Yeah,
and this gets back to this whole will you disavow type of thing. Now, there was an interesting article that came up today. I think it was on the Daily Mail. President Ted Cruz endorsement from Caitlyn Jenner. Now, will the evangelist candidate, will he disavow Caitlyn Jenner?
That ideology, disavow.
Yeah, or disendow, I guess. I don't know. But she's already been disendowed. I don't know if he will disavow or whatever. And here's somebody who disavowed Ted Cruz. This is a guy who roomed with him in Princeton. It was his roommate. He says, my horror year in a Princeton dorm with Ted Cruz. This is a guy who wrote He's a screenwriter. He wrote Hangover 2, amongst some other things. And one of the things that he said that I thought was interesting in his tweets, he said, I'm getting emails blaming me for not smothering Ted Cruz in his sleep in 1988. What kind of monster do you think I am? A really prescient one? And then a more serious one. He said, Ted Cruz will become the thing you need him to be so that he wins an election. No principles, no moral center, no values, just ambition. And that's precisely what we saw when he came after Ben Carson. That's precisely what we've seen as he has changed his positions on pretty much everything, like Ed Snowden being a hero. Now he's a traitor so that he can win the election. And of course, Ted Cruz has his data analysis machinery going there. He has hired one of the dirtiest campaign consultants out there. There's been many articles written in Politico, The Hill, and other places about that. Yeah, exactly. This is a guy who he was furious with when he was running for his Senate race against David Dewhurst. It was a primary, and of course, that was really the real Senate race, was the GOP primary. And he said, he questioned my patriotism and a whole bunch of other things, right? But he was so outraged by it that he hired this guy to be his presidential campaign candidate. And this guy
you're really good at being sneaky.
Yeah. He's also accused of driving another candidate in another race to suicide. So this is a guy who is very, very vicious that he has as his campaign manager. That's the kind of Ted Cruz that we see of this, and that's what his former roommate in college is saying about him. He will be whatever he needs to be, even going down and using the latest data analysis tools to tell you precisely what he knows you want him to say so that he can get your vote. And that's why so many people say, well, I'm voting for Ted Cruz because I agree with him on the issues. A lot of other people are saying, no, I agree with Donald Trump because I want somebody who will tell it to me straight. They realize that Ted Cruz is just telling them what they want to hear.
Well, when we look at guys like Ted Cruz, the only thing you have to do is remember what he did to Ben Carson. You know, Ben Carson is bowing out of this race. He's no longer a contender. And then he tried to suck up those votes. And that's a very dirty, underhanded thing, even in the game of politics. You know, to say that a guy just left the race, I think is very dirty and underhanded.
That's right. That's absolutely true. And these first 4 states are all about creating a perception of momentum. That is the key thing. And so when he robbed Ben Carson of that momentum in Iowa, because that was really his key competition in Iowa, they were all competing for the evangelical vote. Iowa really hasn't become a very good predictor for the Republicans because it's been taken captive by a couple of evangelical kingmakers. So we look really more now to New Hampshire and South Carolina as reliable predictors of who's going to get the nomination. Nevertheless, it's very important because it's the first place votes are taken. And when he did that, and when he then subsequently lied about it by saying, well, we didn't know, or mistakes were made, Jakari, you know the timeline. You know that they put this out and they based this off of a tweet. They twisted a tweet that was put out by CNN 20 minutes before the caucuses started. And the guy clarified as immediately. He says, well, it's kind of strange. Ben Carson is going to be going to Florida, but he assured us that he's not getting out of the race. And then 20 minutes later, they put out this rumor, this lie, this whispering campaign throughout the caucuses. We're going to go to break, and we're going to be right back, and we're going to take some of your calls. Give that number out again, Leanne.
The number is 877-789-2539. Give us a call. We want to hear what you have to say about tonight's debate.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. Now is the time to secure Ancient Defense for you and your family. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. That's ancientdefense.com.
General, what do you think about the FBI saying that there was a terror alert on Monday about a potential Fort Hood situation?
The police are shoving people, shoving Alex, shoving the crowd.
Here we go, folks. I'm being assaulted.
Whether it's the radio show, the news websites, documentary films, or the nightly news, Infowars is the tip of the spear.
Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security while sticking the hands down on the pants on the streets?
It's up to us to set brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere, and that's what PrisonPlanet.tv is designed to do.
You watch, the Assad regime is going to be blamed or accused of using chemical weapons against the so-called rebels.
What we see now is a war against reality. It's a war against the truth.
It's more vital than ever that supporters of freedom become members of PrisonPlanet.tv and share their membership with up to 11 friends and family. Visit InfoWarsNews.com today. Become a member, share your membership, and help take the InfoWar to the next level. Infowars Life and InfoWarsLife.com is extremely excited to announce our latest release, Winter Sun, a revolutionary type of vitamin D3. Winter Sun is a premium quality vitamin D3 nutritional supplement. It is produced by extracting oil from healthy, nutrient-dense plants known as lichens. Every batch is analyzed for purity and D3 content. It's completely free of toxins and allergens. Visit Infowars.com today or call 888-253-3139. Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.
Welcome back to this live edition of the Infowars Nightly News. I'm David Knight with Leanne McAdoo. We also have Joe Biggs and Jakari Jackson and Darren McBreen, the rest of the crew with us tonight. We're going to be covering the GOP debate from Michigan, and we're about 20 minutes away from that happening. Now, today, of course, Mitt Romney made a very strident denunciation of Donald Trump on the day of the debate. There's been a lot of speculation since last week, as Roger Stone revealed that there were plans afoot to have Mitt Romney come out if Marco Rubio did not work out for the establishment. Perhaps giving him until Florida to make good, but I think a lot of people realize that Florida just isn't going to happen for Rubio.
No.
So after Super Tuesday, we're seeing an accelerating push forward of Mitt Romney. Now, if we go back about a year and a half, there was a story on CNN. People were speculating as to whether or not Mitt Romney would run. They said 3 reasons Romney will run in 2016. 4 reasons that he won't, and here's one of them. He keeps doing interviews with the New York Times. You know, he keeps putting himself out there at that time. They say he won't go away. And then they say, well, he was right about tensions with Russia. Well, of course, you know, that's the neocons that support him.
Right. They stoke the fire there, and then, oh, wow, look at their smoldering.
Right. The globalist oligarch party is pushing these tensions with Russia, so it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
But here's the reasons that they said he wouldn't. Number 1, the 47% is still there. And they point out, they said it was a turning point in the presidential campaign when Romney spoke the truth that said 47% of Americans were going to vote against him no matter what. And yes, they did. That's one of the reasons why he ran for president for 8 years and didn't get anywhere. Number 2, running for president is hard. Number 3, he's run and lost twice already. And number 4, he'd have to go through a primary. Oh, well, now he could kind of skip that.
Right.
Okay. And they point out, Romney would have to convince Americans to choose him over one of the new guys who hasn't had a chance yet. This could end up being a tough argument to make. Yeah, it would. And we've got an exclusive video, exclusive to Infowars, of Mitt Romney. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, that's right. We found this today, him practicing, actually getting ready to do this speech, this, amazing speech he was going to give on the state of the GOP. So, yeah, we're going to roll this now. This is exclusive to Infowars. So, everybody, this is riveting. Here it is.
Behold the king Albano. Right. Keep me covered. What with? Just keep me covered. Too late.
Oh, is that the press there? Waiting for a speech? Zomney.
I'm not going to endorse
It's
a
Zomney.
candidate today. Instead, I'd like to offer my perspective on the nominating process. of my party. If we Republicans choose Donald Trump as our nominee, the prospects for a safe and prosperous future are greatly diminished.
Safe and prosperous future for the elite. Please,
And on and on
be
and on.
clear.
Recession.
It's not a
The
safe.
thing who would not leave.
America already knows that he's not talking to them.
This tax in combination.
He's literally talking
It's
to bones in a
not
cave.
working.
And to honestly address spending.
The lies are not
I thought he had a nicer
working.
house, personally, but,
What little he has said is enough to know that he would be.
Those are the scavenged bones of all the businesses that he destroyed.
Yes, thanks for reminding us what a loser Mitt Romney was the many times that he's run. And really, it's a reminder of what losers they have picked to establish, to be the champions of the globalist oligarch party.
Yeah,
He needs to go
and that
find a
they-
shrubbery.
And that they think that they can just roll these people out saying the exact opposite of what they've said before, and that we're not going to find the video and destroy them.
Well, when you stop and think about it, it was going to be Jeb Bush who was going to be the savior of the GOP establishment. And of course, he was the one who scared off Mitt Romney with his war chest of $150 million, which he frittered away to absolutely no results. Then they moved from him to Rubio. And then, of course, after Super Tuesday, Rubio said to Jake Tapper, "We fought Trump to a draw." Absolutely amazing. And Politico points out, no, actually, Rubio's path to an outright win has vanished. They
Right, and they
point
kept
out,
calling it the win. And
yeah, they
third
point out
place.
he has absolutely no chance.
That's a picture of them flying to Miami to Rubio's phone party.
Phone party.
Yeah.
Phone party 2016. Yeah,
There you go.
and
And
let everybody
Jeb's
know there's
like,
a flash
"I like-"
contest, $1,000 for the best meme. So you can get on
Yeah.
Real Alex Jones at Real Alex Jones on Twitter, and that's where you enter. You reply back to that original tweet and enter your meme in, and we're gonna judge them tonight. Me and Alex were laughing at them. There's one. It just says snakes on a plane.
But it looks like it looks like Jeb is saying, "I love Mr. Pink Bubbles."
Yeah, Rubio was saying, why am I Mr. Pink? Yeah. Well, here's an interesting quote from this article. And this is the person who was the deputy campaign manager for Mitt Romney. And she said, our whole strategy has been to deny Trump the 50% that he needs. Now, she is also, not only was she went from Romney's deputy campaign manager to the founder of a PAC that is running millions of dollars of anti-Trump ads. Let's go to some of our calls. Let's go to Jesus in Colorado. Jesus.
Forces trying to.
Hello, Jesus.
In Colorado.
Okay, let's go.
Hang on a second.
Okay, let's go to Ira in Florida. You guys have Ira in Florida? Having some problems with the phone lines. Let's take a look at Rubio's. All right, well, hang on. We're going to come to those phone calls. Tonight, what we're going to see is going to be interesting. Now, there's a lot of interesting news, I think, that comes out, because the question is, what is Rubio going to act like? We saw him completely transformed into kind of an elementary school troll
Right.
at the end of last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Super Tuesday, after bragging, hey, we got Trump exactly where we want him, he kind of toned down a little bit. And something else happened to Fox News. Over the weekend, there was a story that came out of the New York Times talking about how Fox News had really worked to promote Rubio's amnesty package, how they had met with Roger Ailes and other executives at Fox News, how they put pressure on a lot of people in the conservative media. It rankled a lot of feathers. It got people like Rush Limbaugh very angry, especially Sean Hannity, who said, nobody tells me what to say. And, of course, he got into a Twitter war with Ann Coulter, who said, hey, Rubio took you. Now, we see this report from the New Yorker. They say, in his role as a donor class's darling, Marco Rubio has enjoyed support from Republican media arm Fox News. Fox provided Rubio with friendly interviews and key bookings, including the first primetime response to Barack Obama's Oval Office address. And, of course, on ISIS, that was when he famously had to stop and get a glass of water because he couldn't continue.
Right.
Now, they say that there's also a connection with Washington's managing editor, but they say now, because of this article that happened over the weekend, Fox News is angry and embarrassed about having their relationship with Marco Rubio and the amnesty plan exposed. So they are pulling back on him. Sean Hannity is totally unloading on Rubio, saying he's an embarrassment. He has turned into a suicide machine. He's a hired gun to take on the insurgent Trump. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight with Fox News. Are they going to pull this back? Are they now going to try to go towards Romney? It'll be interesting to see if they go for the jugular on Donald Trump, as we've seen Megyn Kelly in the past. I hear we got our phone lines fixed now. Let's go to Jesus in Colorado. Jesus.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to comment on the whole puppet show that's going on. And I just feel like we're just having more of the same rhetoric. And I feel like we got to talk more so about important things like sustainable living so we could reduce the homeless in the society and take care of them, and also industrial purposes of hemp and marijuana, not just the medicinal aspect of it or the recreational of just to get high, but I feel like the lawmakers really got to talk about it. And I don't know. I don't know how it would be with the Donald Trump presidency. I don't take anyone else seriously.
Well, I agree with you, Jesus. You know, we have to understand there's going to be a lot of things we're going to need to do at the local level. We all need to understand that the presidential race is not going to solve all of our problems. I think there are some real key things that can be done by Donald Trump, like stopping us getting involved in wars, shutting down these globalist treaties would be very positive. But when it comes to things like that, we're going to have to do that at local level.
Right.
Stay with us. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Hang on. Stay with us, Jesus. We'll give you a comment on the other side.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
One of the worst things with most energy products is it's not sustainable, right? You're going to crash, you're going to feel really bad afterwards. This has a bunch of different antioxidants and compounds and polyphenols.
Everybody's on these drugs to knock their brain out because the brain's so fried.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for.
You will find Brain Force, Survival Shield X2, and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. Introducing Secret 12, the new InfoWars Life vitamin B12 formulation. Most forms of vitamin B12 are highly processed and synthetic and could not be properly absorbed by the body. That's why for real results, so many are having to turn to painful B12 injections, which are known to have higher absorption rates. Now, InfoWarsLife.com is excited to announce that we can bring you our most bioactive, powerful form of B12 that has been developed with our exclusive perfected process. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin. Secret 12 is simply taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Discover the secret. Secret 12. Secure your revolutionary Secret 12 formula right now at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
humanity to stand up in the info war and say, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this, but you want to fight, you better believe you've got one.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
Welcome back to this live edition of the Infowars Nightly News. I'm David Knight with Leanne McAdoo and the rest of the Infowars crew. We're about 10 minutes away from the next GOP debate here 2 days after Super Tuesday. We're going to have live commentary and analysis, and we're also going to be taking your calls throughout the debate as well. Right now, we've got the phone lines lit up. We were just talking to Jesus in Colorado about pot and what things might be done. Well, medical marijuana, let's put it that way, is the way he put it. We have to understand that there's a lot of things that are not going to be solved by a presidential election, no matter who wins. A lot of things that we're going to have to fight for our freedoms. Nobody's going to give us our freedoms back. And of course, I'll let you all know, in case you haven't seen this, it's been on the Drudge Report and elsewhere, there's going to be a pot rally in front of POTUS's house. POTUS, the president of the U.S., and this is going to be on April the 2nd, and they're going to light up at 420. It's an act of civil disobedience. Because there's a back and forth in Washington. You had something you wanted to say about that.
Yes, well, the residents there in D.C. voted to legalize medicinal marijuana, and the federal law, they're saying no. So this will be interesting to see what sort of a pushback those people receive there in D.C. But I wanted to talk about the issue of sustainability and helping the homeless population, and just the fact that this is something that we can do on the local level, because we're constantly saying, well, solve all of our problems for us, government. Well, no, this is one of those things that we can do. And I saw a really interesting story. There was a group of just young people. They got together and they started using the rooftops from some old abandoned buildings in like downtown and some other places. And they were able to get it with the city officials where they're gardening. And they actually have the homeless population gardening. And so they're feeding themselves. They're able to share it among some of the other homes.
That's great. You know, we're never going to solve our problems as long as we look at government to solve it for us, even at the local level. And then, of course, that passive disease of looking to somebody else to solve our problems for us begins with looking to the government at local level, and then state level, and then federal level. And then all of a sudden we think no problem is going to be solved unless the president does it for us. And so we have to combat that. Now, we're covering these presidential debates because there are some problems that can be handled by the right president. We can stop these globalist trade treaties that are decimating our country. We can stop the headlong rush into wars. We've seen these neocons saying, hey, we'd rather have Hillary Clinton because she'll give us our wars. She'll give us our no-fly zones. Donald Trump is kind of hedging back on this and say, whoa, wait a minute, maybe we don't want to start a war with Russia. So there are some important things that can be taken care of at the presidential level if we've got the right person in it. But most of the things that we are faced with in terms of our liberty really have to be taken care of by ourselves. Let's get a comment from Jesus. Jesus, you've been holding. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here still. I believe it starts with the community, and I'm part of the We Are Change Colorado movement, and I know that they're a huge part of helping out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
As
agree.
you know, they faced the Denver water flow, and they made 18 headlines and about fluoridation.
Well, your phone call is kind of breaking up a little bit, and I want to get some of the other people on.
Well, hey, I got something really quick, David.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Hey, there's some breaking news out of the Washington Examiner. It's on top of Drudge Report right now. Trump names Senator Sessions chair of his national security team. So this is going on right now. He just tweeted that out. It says Donald Trump on Thursday named Sessions as chairman of his National Security Advisory Committee. Trump's campaign said Sessions, a local advocate of tougher enforcement of the nation's immigration laws, would counsel Trump on foreign policy and homeland security. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, I don't agree with, that's one of the things I don't agree with Senator Sessions on, is his approach to security and homeland security in the national police state. However, Senator Sessions is the only one who's looked at these trade agreements. He knows that it's not just an issue of bad economics, it's an issue of sovereignty. He did a very large presentation to the Senate about that. He's been presenting this information to Donald Trump, from what we've heard now, since August. And so I agree with him as an advisor. I think Senator Sessions is a man of the utmost integrity. I respect him, even though I disagree with him on some of the security issues.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's somebody that cannot be bought. And of course, there's that famous back and forth between him and Leon Panetta saying, well, what, you know, if we're going to have a no-fly zone over Syria, who would make that decision? Leon Panetta said, well, we would, who at the time was Secretary of Defense, we would go to the United Nations, we would go to NATO, and he goes, I can't believe what I'm hearing. You're a congressman, you know what the process is. We got a constitutional process. They simply don't care. So at least he cares about that part of it, and I guess we would have to, of course, he's also a drug warrior as well, so we'll have to see what happens with that.
I got a feeling that Trump, if he is nominated and wins the election, he'll put Judge Napolitano in the seat to fill Scalia. What do you think?
Alex, I mentioned that to Alex, and he said, oh, yes, that's been mentioned many times. And, you know, I think Donald Trump is the only candidate of all the Republicans that would have the courage to do that, because everybody else would say, oh, I'm going to get somebody who's well-respected in the Harvard Law Review, somebody that is the lawyer's lawyer. This guy was on television. That's not a disqualifier for Donald Trump. And Andrew Napolitano knows the law. He is a staunch libertarian. I would love to see him as a Supreme Court judge. I wouldn't mind seeing Senator Sessions as vice president.
Yeah, and he would definitely fulfill the witty commentary coming out of the Supreme Court.
It's going to be interesting to see
used to offer.
It's going to be interesting to see who Trump ends up picking as his VP. I keep running over names, and I just can't quite decide who I think he's going to pick for something like that. Do you have any ideas?
Well, who knows? I mean, you know, the other thing about Senator Sessions, I always look at this as a geographical balance. You know, he would be somebody who'd be from the South as opposed to everybody else that we see pretty much coming from the North. We got Donald Trump, we got Bernie Sanders, we got Hillary Clinton, who's a transplant now to the North. So that would give him a geographical diversity there.
I thought it was going to be Carson for VP. They always seem pretty buddy-buddy.
Yeah.
But, you know,
well, let's go ahead and take a phone call from Ross in New York. He's actually wants to talk about who would be Trump's running mate. Let's see what Ross has to say.
Hi, how's everyone doing? I had a question. I was wondering, Juan, who will be Trump's running mate? And do you think it'd be a woman? Because ultimately he's going to end up running against Hillary.
Who knows? You know, Governor.
Smart tactic. We saw McCain.
Yeah, former Governor Jan Brewer of Arizona, who's been real staunch on the border. She has endorsed Donald Trump. So, I mean, you know, if he gets people who are strong on immigration, I think that would really play well to what he's done. Because remember, that was the very first issue that he came up with. And of course, one of the issues that he came out today with was a 7-point health care plan. And I think they'll be talking about that tonight in the debate if they get into any issues of substance. And I think it is a dynamite plan. I looked at the 7 points, and I didn't see anything there that I disagreed with, quite frankly.
I think it could be Kasich, because if you watch these debates, you see Kasich, he's never really attacking Trump, and Trump is always saying, hey, that's a nice guy. The governor over there, he's a nice guy. So it seems like they've kind of been bonding behind the scenes a little bit. So I'm thinking, my opinion, it might be Kasich.
Who knows? Who knows? So you got to have, you know, Ben Carson and John Kasich don't really bring a lot of votes to the table. You know, I look at somebody like Sessions or Jan Brewer. They're somebody who has been very strong on his core issue, which is immigration.
Right.
So who knows? And of course, they are both far away from him geographically. But Donald Trump has done really well geographically in terms of, you know, the votes all across the South, which Ted Cruz thought was going to be his territory. He beat him soundly in South Carolina and soundly on Super Tuesday, which they call the Southeastern Conference primary. And he's done way, way better than Mitt Romney did. As we're looking at it, there were some of the states that he doubled the vote totals that Mitt Romney got 4 years ago, some of the states that Mitt Romney won, and he won 8 out of 12. Romney only won 6 out of 12. So we're going to take a quick break that's coming up here, but and we'll be talking about, it's about a minute away. I want to give you the 7-point health care plan because they will be talking about this. He's going to get rid of the individual mandate in Obamacare. He would repeal the restrictions of allowing insurance companies to offer insurance across state lines, which Marco Rubio taunted him about. But think about this for a moment. Why is it that the globalist GOP wants to have free trade with foreign nations, but they won't allow free trade with insurance policies from state to state? What is wrong with that? Everything is upside down.
They don't want the state to have power.
Yeah, stay with us. We'll be right back with more of your calls in just a few minutes, and we're going to have the debate starting very shortly. We'll have our live analysis and coverage of that. We'll be right back.
Knockout is back. If you want a product that has 10 known ingredients that naturally get your body to relax, your brain to relax, so you get deep, restful sleep. Knockouts it. Infowarslife.com. L-theanine, hops flower extract, lemon balm extract, valerian root extract, chamomile flower extract, L-tryptophan extract, melatonin, and more. All organic, all the natural sources. It's the same price as leading brands of melatonin that are 3 milligrams a piece. It has 3 milligrams, the standard recommended dose for an adult, and it just synergistically puts everything in there.
Infowarslife.com. That's Infowarslife.com. Or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.
Webster's Dictionary describes a liberal as favoring progress and reform in social institutions and the fullest practicable liberty of individual action. A liberal is tolerant and not strict, basically the epitome of an open mind. Unfortunately, the very word representing a pursuit towards individual liberty has been replaced in the modern era. The new definition of liberal should be a group of closed-minded chattel that ignore all facts in favor of entering a sycophantic, trendy, trance-like state of emotional hypocrisy in order to challenge individual liberty. Basically, the complete opposite of the original meaning. Case in point, how many times does Donald Trump have to disavow David Duke and the Klan's support for his campaign before the mainstream media's disinformation piranhas smell fresher meat? To get yet another bellyful of lies while ignoring the real issues that matter to most Americans.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I didn't even know he endorsed me. David Duke endorsed me? Okay. All right. I disavow, okay?
I don't mind disavowing anybody, and I disavow David Duke.
I disavow, Alex.
Wait a minute, John McAfee. Why won't you disavow? You're seeing him not disavow, folks. I'm going to ask you one more time, or Paul Ryan's going to have to come out and give a speech. Now, he's done it 10 times by Paul Ryan's speech. He's done it over 14 as of last night. And I want you to disavow 14 times and disavow the way I want. Go ahead.
I want to just continue to say one phrase over and over. My wife is black. My wife is black. And if I keep saying that, eventually...
Not good enough. Say I disavow.
They spoke with some Trump supporters. Let's play what they said.
David Duke and people like that, they come out from under the rocks all the time around this time this year. It got nothing to do with Donald Trump. We're all Americans. I think we need to stop with all the racist stuff and the race baiting. Like me and my friend right here, we just met today. We was talking. You know, we got to stop with the racist stuff and this, that. We all Americans, man. And nobody paying David Duke no mind.
Clearly, let me just be clear here. Obviously, the majority of Donald Trump supporters are not African American. I don't know how many African Americans were in that building. But
he is whipping up and tapping into and pushing buttons that are very, very frightening to me and frightening to a lot of people. I know how he talks about terrorism. The Klan is a terrorist organization that has killed
a leftist terrorist organization.
You can put whatever label you want. That's your game to play.
No, that's your game to play.
No, they're not. We're not going to play that game.
Most people still don't realize that the Democratic Party actually created the Ku Klux Klan. In 1863, Republican President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed slaves held in the Confederate States. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution took effect in December 1865 and finally ended slavery throughout the United States. That year, the Ku Klux Klan was founded. Historian Eric Foner observed that basically the Klan was the military muscle behind the agenda of the Democratic Party, the plantation owner class, and all those truly afflicted with a mental disorder that is racism. The Klan's purposes were to reverse the interlocking changes sweeping over the South during Reconstruction, to destroy the Republican Party's infrastructure, undermine the Reconstruction state, reestablish control of the black labor force, and restore racial subordination in every aspect of Southern life. By any means necessary, the Klan sought this agenda by threats and violence, including the murder against black and white Republicans. And as the media zombies downplay the question whether or not Hillary will be in a jail cell by the general election, Hillary's ties to the Klan are silenced.
Today, our country has lost a true American original, my friend and mentor, Robert C. Byrd. Senator Byrd was a man of surpassing eloquence and nobility.
There are a lot of people who wrote these eulogies for Senator Byrd in the newspapers, and I read a bunch of them, and they mentioned that he once had a fleeting association with a Ku Klux Klan, and what does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. He was a country boy from the hills and hollows of West Virginia. He was trying to get elected. And maybe he did something he shouldn't have done, and he spent the rest of his life making it up.
I've spent more time overseas than you ever have in your little life. So don't tell me about
how would you know what my passport reads?
How much time have you spent in the Muslim world?
Not much in the Muslim world.
How many times have you been to Iraq? How many times have you been to Afghanistan?
Anderson, what is your point here? You make it seem like Donald Trump hates Muslims. He does not hate Muslims. He's concerned about radical Islam.
We can't allow these Muslims, refugees, into America. Now, a lot of people were upset with him, but I know, sir, that the hatred for America in the Muslim world is building, as we told Mr. Bush. No Muslim leader had the power to unite the whole Muslim world. I said, but America's policies will unite those people against the West, and it is happening. So in this way, Mr. Trump is wise to vet anyone coming from that area into America.
My humble advice to modern liberals, the demonic overlord establishment, and its teleprompter reading media prostitutes is that once you get a real bellyful of what hundreds of millions of enraged Americans really think, you may want to load up on a hefty stockpile of adult diapers and get there early before what's left of the corrupted Democratic and Republican parties buy up the entire supply. John Bound for Infowars.com.
Give me a count.
I don't hear anything.
Welcome back to our live coverage at Infowars Nightly News. This is the debate in Michigan that has already started. And of course, very first question out of the box is, will you disavow the KKK? Can you believe that? And they're not asking any of the other candidates. They're asking Donald Trump.
No. They don't even say, do you disavow? They said, we know you said you disavow. You said it several times. But what do you
and now
think
they're talking about his
Klan?
hands. Let's go to the live audio feed here.
It's just so insulting.
You say that you are the true conservative in this race. But 15 states have voted
let's just ignore that and go to Cruz. There we go.
You've lost repeatedly with what is supposed to be your core voter groups, including evangelicals and conservatives. So hasn't your brand of conservatism been rejected by an electorate that appears to be more taken with Mr. Trump's populist message?
Oh,
well, Megan, you know, at the end of the day, for the folks at home, this is not about the insults back and forth between the candidates. This is not about what attacks we can throw at each other.
And it's not even about whether or not he can win the evangelical vote or the Southern vote or the conservative vote.
Single moms who are working 2 and 3 jobs, 28, 29 hours.
So this is what he always does. He's a master debater, and he never answers the question.
A cunning linguist, this guy. That's the thing. Is my mom always told me, trust your instincts, and all of us here have said repeatedly something about him. We just don't trust him, and you can't deny that fact. So many. I mean, like I said last time, they did a whole mathematical breakdown of his face and why mathematically the construction of it makes.
But look at what he's doing, Leanne. He's completely ignoring the question, and he's going with this pre-recorded soundbite, just like Marco Rubio did. This is a tactic. This is what these guys always do. This is why people don't believe these professional politicians. They will not respond to the questions. They simply repeat these canned speeches that they had in the back of their head memorized, and that's what he's doing right now. He's talking about the truck drivers' hands and the this and that.
Yeah, I guess that's the drinking game for tonight. Every time they don't answer a question, so sorry.
That's where our focus needs to be. That's where my focus is, and that is why our campaign is the only
totally non-responsive.
Over and over again has beaten.
That's where my focus is, not on your question.
One campaign that going forward can and will beat Donald Trump in this.
Beating Donald Trump to date? What?
I've heard Ted say that over and over again on.
Well, see, it's that participation trophy that they win with.
For the record, I've won 10. He's won 3 or 4. Last week, in fact, on Tuesday, I was 500,000 votes higher than him. I was 1 million votes higher than Marco. 1 million votes. That's a lot of votes, and was by far in first place. So I keep hearing that.
No applause, because there's none of those millions of people who voted for him were allowed to come to the debate.
Right. Yeah, I guess, what do they have, 350 tickets tonight, all given to lobbyists and elected officials?
These elections, there's no doubt about that. The numbers are there.
I thought you had him right where you wanted him, Marco.
The people who have cast a vote in the Republican primary caucus have voted.
The numbers are there.
To be our nominee. And the reason.
No, can you believe that? Can you believe that?
Not going to turn over the conservative movement or the party of Lincoln or Reagan.
10 and 5.
2/3.
And he says, yeah.
Where is his math coming from? Marco Rube.
For 30 seconds on a debate stage to someone, for example, that has no ideas on foreign. Someone who thinks the nuclear triad is a rock band from the 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
To someone who time and again on issue after issue has not proven that he has the principles that outline what the conservative movement has been about. And as Ted said, the things that made America great. America is great because of the conservative principles of limited government and free enterprise and a strong national defense.
Which you have opposed on every occasion as a senator, Marco Rubio. You have taken away our borders as well as our freedoms. He was the 60th vote for the TPA, the Trade Promotion Authority, which took away the constitutional process for approving treaties.
A national poll, excuse me, a national poll where he's at 15, he's at 14, and I'm at 49. So when he says 75%, that would mean that 80% of the people don't dig you, and I'm back down to 50.
Of all the people on the stage, he performs the worst against Hillary Clinton.
Wrong. I beat Hillary Clinton. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls.
If you're our nominee,
excuse me, I think I'm talking.
Hold on, well, excuse me.
I beat Hillary Clinton.
That's the strategy. He just keeps talking. He won't let anybody else talk.
Cannot understand.
Yeah. Oh, there's that smile again. I can't. No, I just can't.
I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls. The Q poll just came out. I beat Hillary Clinton in a recent Fox poll. I beat Hillary Clinton in USA Today. I beat her today in a poll.
Why do we even still talk about polls?
Well, hey guys, I've got this queued back now to the one of the first questions when they're asking Donald Trump about what Mitt Romney said about the KKK. If you guys want to check out that clip.
Yeah, let's do that clip. All right. Go ahead.
Today you admitted.
Taking a second. Me one.
Controversy over your failure to denounce David Duke on Sunday. You have repeatedly disavowed him since then, but I'd like to go deeper than that. What are your views on the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists?
I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke. I've been doing it now for 2 weeks. You're probably about the 18th person that's asked me the question. It was very clear. That question was also talked about in the form of groups. I want to know, which groups are you talking about? You have to tell me which groups. Ultimately, he got to the Ku Klux Klan, which obviously I'm going to disavow. And by the way, if you look on my Twitter account, almost immediately after the program, they were disavowed again. You know, it's amazing. When I do something on Twitter, everybody picks it up, goes all over the place. But when I did this one, nobody ever picks it up. Take a look at my Twitter account.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you. Thanks. Senator Rubio.
Well, see, there you have it. I mean, they keep trying everything they can to go after Trump for these alleged, endorsements and allowing this David Duke guy to so-called say that he wants to call people to vote for him. He's come out many times saying that he doesn't, support David Duke. He doesn't support what the KKK does. And yet that's all the mainstream media is focused on because they have nothing else at this point in time. That's all they have. They're trying to do everything they can to take this guy down. And they figured, hey, he wants to build a wall. He wants to keep Mexicans out. So now we have to hit him with the KKK card and continue to do that and just completely just.
Joe, I got to say, Chris Wallace has absolutely no shame. To start out the debate with that canard, that is the most ridiculous thing. He's not a journalist. He's a propagandist when he does something like that. He ought to be ashamed of himself for doing that. Chris Wallace, you're nothing but a tool. You're nothing but a tool. And that's what we're going to see tonight from Fox News. Let's go back to the debate and see what their pick up the debate where we were.
Not even a sharp tool.
Is that,
a blunt instrument.
Wrote me off. You wrote me off before I even got to New Hampshire. Then when I finished second in New Hampshire.
We've had, while we were showing you that clip at the very beginning of the debate, John Kasich has been telling us for the umpteenth time. He's told us as many times as Donald Trump has disavowed the KKK. John Kasich has told us that he created all these jobs in Ohio, which is the usual pre-recorded message of any governor. They always created more jobs than any other governor in any state in history, and that's what he's replaying right now. That's his replay message.
People say, Brett, to me all the
Right, like Romney says, he created so many jobs as well, failing to say that he bankrupted 25% of the companies and many people lost their jobs and can't believe anything they say.
It doesn't really matter.
These are facts.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is
facts don't matter.
Well, he just asked, why don't they give you any time on the debates? Well, it might be, John, because you're polling well under 10%, in many cases under 5%. And so most people are more interested in finding out what the people who are polling 30 to 50% have to say.
Right.
He has gotten a lot of...
he got disproportionately, yes.
Well, now we were actually remarking on that in some of the earlier debates. Like, who is this guy? Why are they talking
Why are they giving him so
and
much
he
time?
Still wasn't polling higher with that extra attention.
People discussing it online. A lot of that conversation is happening here in Detroit, where the unemployment rate is 10.9%. That's more than double the national average. Senator,
Thank you, Democrats.
Yeah.
You have taken to calling Mr. Trump a con artist who portrays himself as a hero to working people while he's really been, in your words, sticking it to the American workers for 40 years. But he has built a big company that employs thousands of people. Question, how many jobs have you created?
Well, first of all, government does...
First of all,
Fox News has turned...
Let me ignore that.
Fox News has turned on Rubio.
Americans that he's something that he's not in exchange for their money. Now he's trying to do the same in exchange for their country. This is a fact. He talks about these great businesses that he's built.
How many...
Over $100 million.
Can you throw out a number?
No, that's the question was, what have you done? Yeah.
Drink.
He's already getting booed.
Take a shot.
You can start tonight by announcing that all the Donald J. Trump clothing will no longer be made in China and in Mexico, but will be made here in the United States.
What have you done, Marco? You
Answer
don't become
the question.
Yeah, here's what they say. You can beat anybody with somebody, but you can't beat anyone with nobody. Marco Rubio is a nobody. He has never accomplished anything. He is as unaccomplished as Barack Obama. He hasn't even completed one term in the Senate. That's how ridiculous his accomplishments are.
Any bills? Like how many votes did he not show up for? He's just a pretty face that had the good story that they thought would be an appeal to.
Oh yeah, he always talks about his parents and all that.
Serious policies and proposals.
Lines around the state. He's back to this, but look, as I said before.
Here he goes. He's like, please answer the question.
You respond to his specific assertion about Trump collection clothes, which you say some of it is made in Mexico.
This little guy has lied so much about my record.
There we go. The person.
Hey, why don't you shut up,
your
Rubio?
hands.
Yeah.
About my record.
I don't think Donald Trump has small hands. Like, is it weird?
First of all, I got a call.
Do you guys see
I don't know.
I don't see it.
I mean, not that it matters.
Huge.
But, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any real perspective on it.
Look, you got to give it to Trump. This guy is always getting stuck in a crowd that's stacked against him, and yet he doesn't waver. He sits there, he holds his point strong, and he fires back, with an amount of confidence that is unseen and politicians today. I mean, the fact that he can sit here and take this kind of stuff in a crowd where everyone's booing him and continue to say what he's trying to say without getting scared like little Jebby did.
Exactly.
Or Marco when he's getting
listen to
attacked.
what he's saying right now. He's going back and forth with Chris Wallace here.
Well, there's only 50 tickets for the public given out in this. This is all operatives.
China and Mexico.
Will you promise that you'll move your factories back?
I will do that. And by the way, I have been doing it more and more. But they devalue their currencies, in particular China. Mexico is doing a big number now also. Japan is unbelievable what they're doing. They devalue their
Might be
currencies,
because there are only 50
and they
people
make
in
it
Detroit.
impossible for clothing makers in this country to do clothing in this country.
Yes.
And if you look at what's happened
Right.
on
The Bain Capital was a huge part of that.
I can tell you, coming from North Carolina, that virtually all the textile companies have been shut down by the policies and the trade treaties that Marco Rubio advocates. And if he were to do the same thing, Donald Trump's clothing lines would be shut down as well. He would be bankrupt as well. So they have created a system that exports our jobs and imports workers, and then they criticize anybody if they try to survive within that system that Marco Rubio and his globalist oligarch party has created. That's the GOP has given us that system, and then they criticize somebody who tries to survive within that system.
Right.
The answer is he's not going to do it. And you know why? Because there are plenty of clothing makers in America. If you go on my website, marcorubio.com,
How many times is he going to plug his website?
Made in America. The reason why he makes it in China or Mexico is because he can make more
boy, yeah, because you just started making your little T-shirts for your presidential campaign, and
Like
you
3
knew.
weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, oh, good job. And by the way, did he ever answer the question?
No.
Because he doesn't have answers.
First of all, let me completely ignore your question and start talking about something else.
Listen to the crowd cheering Marco Rubio. That's the GOP establishment right there. They should just rattle their jewelry.
Yeah.
Okay, as John Lennon said.
Tens of thousands of people. You haven't employed one person.
You ever heard of Trump Steaks? You ever heard of Trump
You know what? You know what?
All
Take
of
a
these
look at Trump
companies that
Steaks.
he's ruined.
By the way, that's the
Trump
other
Steaks
thing.
is gone. You've ruined these
Mitt Romney.
He's not
Marco couldn't answer a question last debate.
You know,
No,
Marco,
that's his thing. He's
here's
He wants
the
to
deal.
call Trump out, but he couldn't even answer one question during the last debate. That's ridiculous.
I am sick and tired of little communists like Marco Rubio who criticize people who get in the arena, create multiple companies, and some of them, yeah, failed. Some of them didn't succeed. What did he ever try? What did Marco Rubio ever do? All he's done is do his sleazy little back deal doors, being a prostitute for the big power brokers. That's what Marco Rubio has done his entire life, and he's still bankrupt, even though he didn't, even as he's on the take from these guys, he still can't keep his personal life together.
Right. He hasn't accomplished anything.
Mr. Trump,
He can't even win his own state. That's the point that Donald Trump just made.
$10 trillion to the nation's debt over 10 years, even if the economy grows the way that you say it will. You insist that you could make up for a good deal of that, you say, by cutting waste, fraud, and abuse.
Correct.
Like what? And please be specific.
Department of Education. We're cutting Common Core. We're getting rid of Common Core. We're bringing education locally.
Yeah.
Department of Environmental Protection. We are going to get rid of it in almost every form. We're going to have little tidbits left, but we're going to take a tremendous amount out.
And everyone's like, oh, you don't want to protect the environment. But they don't understand. It's not about that. It's the bureaucracy and the people.
That's why the government destroys the environment.
The militarized EPA. You don't need a militarized environmental protection.
Everybody respects him.
I mean, like when you hit guys with fines for releasing balloons on beaches, I think there's something wrong with your policy.
The guy got raided for
let's
having
understand,
a stock farm.
The EPA was created by Richard Nixon. It hasn't been around that long, and I worked at a think tank with a guy who had worked there for 30 years, retired, and then created an organization to oppose it because he said they're not about not about protecting the environment. It is a bureaucracy out of control. All of these bureaucracies are out of control. And of course, Ronald Reagan said he was going to get rid of the Department of Education. Unfortunately, after he left, it was many times larger than it was, and it had only been created a couple of years before he took office by Jimmy Carter. He could have killed it in the cradle like Rosemary's Baby, but instead he fed it and it grew into a monster under Ronald Reagan.
Look at how they're breaking down the math here to explain how Trump's plan won't work. I want them to do the same thing to break down this plan when Bernie Sanders comes out so they can spell it out easily for all the Bernie Sanders supporters of why his plan will not work.
And of course, they're not going to do that. They're not going to they don't have a graphic to criticize the tax plans of the other three people on the stage either. That's something they're doing just for Donald Trump, just like they did the ridiculous KKK question again.
Right.
No, you're not, sir. Let's put up full screen number 2.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
We got another one.
Okay, so it's going to be Chris Wallace and Fox News against Donald Trump. That's what we're seeing here now. They've got their little talking points.
Negotiating lower drug prices. But Medicare...
Hey, we have a caller, actually, Jason, who wanted to talk about that KKK comment from the beginning. So are we ready to pipe him in?
Yeah, go ahead,
He's live now. Jason, go ahead.
The reason we don't is because they take care of all of the senators, all of the congressmen, and they don't go out to bid. Look, excuse me, you're talking about...
do we have his TV on in the background? I think we need him to turn his TV. Or
Yeah, I think let's go back to the debate. I think we lost that.
Not only talking about drugs, I'm talking about other things. We'll save more than $300 billion a year if we properly negotiate. We don't do that. We don't negotiate. We don't negotiate anything.
I can tell you the insurance companies don't negotiate the fees of the
I'll get to you in a moment,
hospitals
sir. Senator Cruz, one of the centerpieces of your campaign, in fact, you mentioned it again tonight, is that you will abolish the IRS. Question, though. Who will collect
but he's in favor of them when they audit Donald Trump. And if they audit Donald Trump or his opponent, then automatically they're right.
Are they going to ask anyone else questions?
Or if someone's being audited, automatically they're bad.
Guys, we have Jason on the line.
Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, I was just going to say that with the whole KKK thing, Donald Trump totally lost my vote with that. I think he was playing politics more or less than the whole earpiece thing. I think that was just BS with the earpiece thing. I think, honestly, he was playing politics.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you on that. I think they were the ones who were playing politics. Right. And, you know, I have an earpiece, and you can hear we're going back and forth trying to establish your phone connection. But he had said that he wasn't going to run in the Reform Party for president because of David Duke and because of Leonora Fulani, who was a communist. He said, I don't want to be associated with people like that. I mean, do you honestly believe? To me, it's exactly, I'll let you respond to this, but let me say one more thing. It was like the situation we had. Remember, they put out that video for a day the Cruz campaign did saying that Marco Rubio walked by Ted Cruz's dad, saw a Bible on the table and said, there's no answers in that book. And that was a total lie. They left that out there for a day and a half. Who would criticize the Bible in a campaign? And who would love the endorsement and embrace the KKK? Do you
Hillary and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Which
do you honestly think
do not see the media playing that, and that's why I've told everyone to bombard it on Twitter, because Hillary Clinton actually, you know, commends this guy, but Bill Clinton tries to apologize for Robert Byrd joining the KKK, saying, oh, well, he had to do that to get elected.
Well, let's go back to Jason. Jason, what do you think about that?
It's not about race. Quit bringing race into it.
Who's bringing race into it?
Okay, let me talk.
Well, let me ask you. Yeah, let me ask you this. What do you think about Louis Farrakhan bringing race into it and endorsing Donald Trump? Do you think that somebody should be calling on Donald Trump to disavow Louis Farrakhan as well? Do you have to disavow everybody? Go down the list of people who endorsed you? Yeah.
You keep bringing race into it. It's not about
who
race.
Said anything about race?
Character. It's about his character. The fact of the matter is, he repeated the question twice. He repeated the question twice to the person who was asking the question. And twice, he didn't disavow. He was playing politics. He repeated the question. Even if he didn't hear him, even if the earpiece was going out, he heard the question enough to repeat it twice. And he still didn't disavow. He was playing politics.
Well, I disagree. I totally disagree. I think the people who are playing politics are the people who continue to say, after he has disavowed it, after he's put it on his social media, they continue to do this. I think you and Chris Wallace should be ashamed of yourself for promoting this divisive racism, using this canard and bringing it up. Move on to some real issues. Thank you, Jason. Let's go back to the debate.
Raising the minimum wage, although you say not to the $15 an hour that Democrats are talking about.
You just got knighted.
Mr. Trump opposes any increase because he says it will price American workers out of the world market. Is he wrong about that? No increase in the minimum wage?
Wait a minute. First of all, I didn't say I was for increase in the federal minimum wage. I said in Ohio we increase it modestly every single year. So I'm not for a federal minimum wage increase.
But you did talk about states doing it.
Well, if states want to do it, they ought to sit down with business people and the lawmakers and figure out what will work. But hold on a second here with everything else.
So why do minimum wages make people more prosperous, John Kasich? Maybe, Fox News, if they're conservative, maybe they should call that into question because, if minimum wage is good, let's make it $100 an hour for everybody, and then we'll all be rich.
You have to know how to put everything together. And, I spent 10 years of my life to get there, and I did not do that because I'm worshiping at some balanced budget shrine. The reason I did it is when you have common sense regulations, lower taxes on individuals and businesses, and you have a fiscal plan that makes sense, the job creators will expand employment. And what happened? When I was there, the jobs were exploding. Bill Clinton's tried to take credit for it.
You know what else exploded? The financial bubble. The financial bubble. He was a Lehman brother with Jeb Bush. We should not forget. And of course, as Lehman Brothers and the Wall Street people were creating that financial bubble, he was selling worthless junk to the teachers unions and other pension plans that were there. He made, I think, $500,000 in commissions, and everybody else got left holding the deflated bag. So he doesn't want to talk about that.
And when you talk about this minimum wage deal, I've been out to some of these Fight for 15 rallies, and there's a lot of young people, good-hearted people. They really think the world's gonna be better if they make $15 an hour. Yeah. But as we all know, with things such as Obamacare, they don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to pay you in general to have 30 hours a week. So they definitely don't want to pay that for $15 an hour. And your gripe is really with the CEOs of McDonald's or whatever company you work for. Getting the public to try to chip into that isn't going to help. If you can get the CEO of McDonald's to give you a raise and take a pay cut, great. But other than that, it's not really going to help you in the long run.
Right.
You need to stop seeing yourself as part of a collective and see yourself as an individual. You need to increase the value proposition on your employment rather than saying we're going to try to strong-arm people into raising all of our levels, because it just doesn't economically work, as Jakari just pointed out.
You need to have skills people want.
And also, you're not supposed to work at freaking McDonald's shaking the fries until you're 50 years old. I started off bagging groceries for like $6 an hour. You move up. You try to build up your skills.
Exactly. You got to get some skills where you're going to make more money. Because what's going to happen is you're just going to trigger off a wave of inflation. You're going to trigger unemployment. That's what's the reality of this. Let's go back to the debate real quickly and see what they're talking about. I see Bush, Reagan.
Obamacare. On immigration, if you don't like amnesty, if you don't like the Gang of Eight, Donald Trump funded 5 of the 8 members of the Gang of Eight, $50,000. And let's talk about this election.
You, Cruz.
The choice Republican primary voters are making.
He gave money to you too.
Stand up to Hillary Clinton and beat Hillary Clinton.
And who are the people that are giving Ted Cruz money? We don't want to talk about that. We want to hide the fact that he got money from Goldman Sachs. We don't want to talk about that. And we don't want to talk about the fact that Ted Cruz has more Wall Street donors than anybody, including Hillary Clinton. Let's not talk about that. Okay.
Donald Trump in 2008 wrote 4 checks to elect Hillary Clinton as president.
This guy is one of the biggest Wall Street whores out there, and he's complaining about who Donald Trump gave money to.
Well, first of all, even if Donald Trump did write some checks for her, the people that are there in the GOP are saying they're going to vote for her, and they'd rather see her as president. So they shouldn't have a problem with it.
See, I don't like the fact that he gave money to these politicians.
I don't either. That's always bothered me.
But Ted Cruz can't denounce somebody for making contributions to politicians when he's making so much money.
This is who gave money to Ted Cruz.
What's that?
Go back to the top. Here's who gave money to Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Right here. Goldman Sachs, number 4.
Yep. There you go.
And I've got really good eyes.
All right, Mr. Trump.
But what would you say
stand by,
to Hillary Clinton on the debate
Senator
stage
Cruz.
when you wrote her a check in 2008, wrote her 4 checks?
Let me tell you something, Ted. The last person that Hillary Clinton wants to face is Donald Trump. That I can.
You know what we need to do? We need to ask Ted Cruz if he will disavow Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
They're far more dangerous than the Ku Klux Klan today, folks. Far more dangerous than the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan is a bunch of screwy has-beens. It's a very small organization. Goldman Sachs has real power to destroy your economic life, to destroy this country. Will Ted Cruz disavow the KKK? Will Marco Rubio say that we ought to have free trade when it comes to insurance policies here in America? No, he won't. But he'll give the globalists like Goldman Sachs a free trade deal that will destroy this country.
They're the ones that are in the white sheets.
When it comes to the size of the wall, that you want to build. But did you tell them specifically that you are flexible when it comes to your deportation plans?
I don't know exactly when you talk about off the record. First of all, BuzzFeed, they were the ones that said under no circumstances will I run for president. And were they wrong? But a lot of people said that. Then I did have a meeting with the editorial board of the New York Times, a very nice meeting. Many of those things were off the record, I think at their suggestion and my suggestion. And I think being off the record is a very important thing. I think it's a very, very powerful thing. And I will say this, these three gentlemen have gone off the record many times with reporters, and I think they want to honor it. And I would always honor that. I will say, though, in terms of immigration and almost anything else, there always has to be some, tug and pull and deal. And, when I watched Ted stand on the Senate floor, I had great respect for what he did. He stood there for a day and a half or something. In the meantime, what came of it? Nothing. You have to be able to have some flexibility, some negotiation. Now, sometimes you ask for more than you want and you negotiate down to the point. I may have discussed something like that with the New York Times, but I would never release off-the-record conversations. I don't think it's fair, frankly, to do that to anybody.
How flexible are you on this issue?
Not very flexible.
If people are going to make fun of Donald Trump's hair, shouldn't they make fun of her eyelashes? I mean, are they going to get stuck when she
Patriot in Dallas who wanted to make a Trump comment here.
All right, let's go ahead.
Go ahead, Patriot.
Mexico is going to pay for the bill.
Hey, what's going on, David? Jakari, Leanne.
How you doing?
Hey, the one thing no one's talking about, this lady Katrina Pearson is his press secretary, and she's black. Why would a racist hire a black lady to be his spokesman?
Are you talking about Trump?
Oh, yeah, but Trump?
Yeah.
No, but Trump had his press secretary is Katrina Pearson.
Right.
She's black.
Oh, look.
Black woman.
Mike Huckabee, who is there, he said, do you really think that Donald Trump is racist? I mean, he argued that on MSNBC. Ron Paul, who doesn't like Donald Trump at all. Ron Paul, who says he's not going to vote for Donald Trump, said this is nonsense. And they both acknowledged that this was a tactic by the GOP establishment to take down Donald Trump. It's very transparent to virtually everybody except maybe Jason. But it's everybody else really understands what's going on here. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey, nobody's disavowing the money that they got from Donald Trump.
Exactly.
That's right. Did you hear what I said? I want to see people call on Ted Cruz to disavow Goldman Sachs, because that's the most dangerous organization to people of all colors in this country. Those types of organizations, and Goldman Sachs is Exhibit A, the people who are pushing this globalist oligarch party on us. So that's the real threat to all of us. Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it's a total canard. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think people are buying it, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Well, it's just another way to attack the guy. Like I said, I have issues with the guy. I'm not going to vote for him, just like Ron Paul said, but my issue with him isn't the David Duke deal.
Yeah, exactly.
First and foremost, by bringing illegal immigration under control and proving it to the American people. And only after that is done can anything else happen. And it will be something the American people support. We'll see what they're willing to support. It's not going to be an executive order, and we're not going to ram it down.
We'll see what they're willing to support. I've already tried to sell amnesty right here on this channel. I did 3 years ago. I shoved it down the throat of the voters.
Yeah, I'm talking about people losing their jobs while I'm tripling the amount of H-1B worker visas.
I happen to be much stronger on illegal immigration. Sheriff Joe Arpaio endorsed me, and if he endorses you, believe me, you are the strongest from Arizona. But give and take is okay, and I thought what he said is okay. We may differ on the degree, but what he said to me is okay.
Will you release the tape? Authorize
I
the
never
time
do that. I would not do that. I don't think I have too much respect. If I deal with you
gonna be the new scandal.
If I deal with Brett,
are they talking about the New York Times too?
Yeah, they're still trying to get it.
Okay, Fox News, why don't you release all of your off-the-record conversations? I'm calling on Fox News to release all your off-the-record conversations.
Right.
The first one they need to start with is what the New York Times reported this weekend, that there was an off-the-record meeting between Roger Ailes, head of the Fox News division, and Rupert Murdoch, head of Fox overall, talking to Chuck Schumer and Marco Rubio about how they could subvert the wishes of the GOP and the conservative voters and push an amnesty bill. Are we going to go to break, or are we going to take some calls, folks? All right.
We have Ben, I believe, in Florida.
Go ahead, Ben.
Or is that Ben in Florida?
All right.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I want to use Rubio's words here for a second. Let's dispel with this fiction that Marco Rubio has even an ounce of integrity. This is a guy, Mr. Knight, I believe you made this point. This is a man who prostitutes himself to the donor class, and he has the audacity to go after Donald Trump and call him somebody that's a fraud, question Donald Trump's record. I mean, this man, talk about just sad. I can't stand him anymore. And then, on top of all of that, he gets upset when Trump goes after him. Yet, in his rallies, he calls he calls to question Donald Trump's hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? That's a big takedown of Donald Trump.
I know. It is absolutely absurd, isn't it?
Hey, where did all this stuff come from talking about Trump's hands? Because I remember they were talking about Rubio's height at one point. Jeb was pointing that out. And I said, that's so petty and ridiculous and childish. And now they're talking about the man's hands.
Yeah, there's a whole thing about his time. And I don't.
With all the millions, with all the tens of millions of dollars that the corporate donors have given to Marco Rubio, you would think he could hire better comedy writers.
Right.
It's very, very childish. It sounds like something out of elementary school. And as Sean Hannity's pointed out, it's simply, what is that? It simply doesn't wear well on Marco Rubio.
It's only men allowed at the foam party.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much. Let's go to another call. Rob, who we got?
I don't know, but it would be interesting. It would be interesting to see how many of these reporters would release their conversations that are off the record. I think that's kind of ridiculous that they would ask that.
Yeah,
right, especially Fox News.
Yeah, that's what
are you going to release? These are reporters, journalists, supposedly, who are asking a candidate if he would release off the record comments.
Right.
I mean, that I just don't understand that frame of mind.
Well, and especially since it was either Saturday or Sunday. The entire conservative talk radio has been set afire by the New York Times article alleging that Fox News met off the record with these people to conspire to tell lies about Rubio's amnesty program with Chucky Schumer. So they met off the record. There are allegations that Rush Limbaugh met off the record with Roger Ailes and Rupert Murdoch, but they're not releasing any of that. So for them to make this a point of contention and to repeatedly ask this of Donald Trump, well, tell us what was said off the record. Well, why don't you, Fox News, why don't you ask Roger Ailes what was said off the record about the amnesty plan that Marco Rubio had? And don't tell us this line that you didn't know it was an amnesty plan. Everybody knew it was an amnesty plan. You had him on for an hour with Sean Hannity promoting amnesty. Come on. Everybody knew what was going on. Phyllis Schlafly and the rest of the conservatives called Fox News and the conservative talk radio media on this, and they want to pretend they didn't know what was going on. That was the real off-the-record meeting we need to know about. Release the transcripts, Fox, if it means so much to you about that.
As long as there's going to be politicians and there's going to be reporters, there's going to be off the record.
Yeah. So for last caller on the KKK, Adam in Austin. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, this is an interesting election. You got to me, it's like two forms of capitalism, going against each other. Two directions, two people. One person makes his money in consumerism in a different way. And I've never liked Donald Trump, but it's just, to me, it's like they're taking distraction issues and we're totally just they're just wasting time to try to attack him on nothing. And it's like, and at the same time, I look at people in Austin and nobody really, they're like goldfish. So it's like really concerning because it's the distraction issue of pointless stuff and we're going nowhere. It's like, it's the definition of sanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. We, as you pointed out, we can quibble about what Donald Trump has done with his TV and his other careers, and that's an interesting line of discussion. But let's get back to the debate.
Well, talking about doing the same thing over and over again, they're still asking him to release the transcript.
Well, no. Megan just asked Donald his stance on the fact of allowing work visas in the country. Said that on his website that he had a very strict stance on it, but based off of the CNBC the debate last time, he came out and said that he had brought in people to fill in those positions because he couldn't find people. And I have that question lined up if you guys want to hear it really quick.
You reversed yourself.
Sure, go ahead.
Now to the questions. Mr. Trump, your campaign website to this day argues that more visas for highly skilled workers would, quote, decimate American workers. However, at the CNBC debate, you spoke enthusiastically in favor of these visas. So which is it?
I'm changing. We need highly skilled people in this country, and if we can't do it, we'll get them in. But, and we do need, in Silicon Valley, we absolutely have to have. So we do need highly skilled. And one of the biggest problems we have is people go to the best colleges. They'll go to Harvard, they'll go to Stanford, they'll go to Wharton. As soon as they're finished, they get shoved out. They want to stay in this country. They want to stay here desperately. They're not able to stay here.
Let's get back to the debate here. Let me just say this. Again, when Marco Rubio wants to create an environment where people can't survive in this country because of the China price and other things that he doesn't want to talk about and may not even know about. I mean, he wants to talk about the nuclear triad. Let's talk about the China price. But when he wants to talk about people trying to survive in that business environment, understand that Marco Rubio wanted to triple the number of H-1B visas. And so, again, he's creating a system and then coming around and pushing back against that. Let's go to Darren McBreen. Darren?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the boos that you hear from the audience. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible, obviously, for nobody to be there to boo Donald Trump, but it's very interesting when you learn that the hostile crowd might be against Trump. Check this out. We just learned that Mitt Romney's niece was responsible for picking some of the audience tonight. Oh, so they actually put Ronna Romney McDaniel in charge of handing out tickets. So, and don't forget, it was last month in New Hampshire where Donald Trump, he said it was Jeb Bush who stacked the audience against him. So, you know, this hostile audience might be a prop, an establishment prop. I don't know.
And as I pointed out earlier, it was Romney's deputy campaign manager from his campaign 4 years ago, who is ahead of one of the largest anti-Trump super PACs. So, yeah, well, he's got his fingerprints all over it. Romney is desperate to get another bite of the apple, but he's already had 2 tries and he's failed. Yeah. Categorically. Let's get back to the debate.
Florida called the Mar-a-Lago Club. It's a very, very successful club. It has a very short season. It's called The Season, and it goes from November till March. It's a few months, 5 months at the most. People don't want a short-term job. They don't want. So we will bring people in, and we will send the people out. All done legally, all done with a process that's approved by government, 100% approved. We bring people in, we bring them out. When we can, we hire people from Palm Beach or West Palm Beach. But we bring people in, we bring them out. We want to hire as many Americans as we can. But they don't want part-time, very short part-time jobs.
Understood. Thank you.
That's not accurate. I'm sorry, Megan, that's not accurate. There were at least 300 Americans that applied last year. None of them were hired.
This is the guy who tripled the number of H-1B visas going to complain to somebody. I mean, how many H-1B visas did he create? And,
how many people that were fired from Disney because of the H-1B visas that he wanted to bring in had to train their replacements because he wanted to triple the amount of those visas for President Obama.
Yeah, I don't agree with the H-1B visa thing, but don't criticize somebody if you're going to triple the number of them, okay? That's the kind of lies that we see coming from these people. Let's have an upfront discussion about this instead of lying to our faces and stabbing us in the back, which is what we've seen repeatedly from Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, 2 guys, I will add, who are not even eligible as natural-born citizens to run for president. We've had that discussion before as well.
Very hot area. It is very, very hard to get people, but other hotels do the exact same thing. And just so you understand,
it's very true.
Again,
I used to live in
this is
Florida.
a legal process. This is a procedure. It's part of the law. I take advantage of that. There's nothing wrong with it. We have no choice.
Donald, you could resolve this issue very quickly.
They're ganging up on him now.
Disavow.
New York Times tape. Because listen, maybe it's right
Yeah.
that you didn't tell them.
Let's release the Fox News tape. The Fox News tape of Marco Rubio and Chuck Schumer and Roger Ailes and Rupert Murdoch. Let's release that tape.
I'm lying to the American people, then the voters have a right to know.
Maybe we should have the tape where he negotiated the $1 million loan from Goldman Sachs and didn't report it to the FEC. Maybe we should release the transcripts of the tape of that secret meeting that Ted Cruz had.
I think they should all play a poker game where they find the most incriminating tape and put it on the table to see who could just take it off.
You know, that's a good one.
I'm actually pretty naive. I really thought that they would be talking about Donald Trump's health care plan, but they're not going to talk about that.
All right.
They're going to talk
guys,
about his underwear or something.
Every year we have these people running for president, and they always show how they're related. We had Romney and Obama. We had, who was it, Bush and McCain? Or was it Obama and McCain? Now, apparently, we have a caller, Chris in Reno, Nevada, who wants to bring up something about how Trump and Hillary are related. So, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, guys. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Okay, well, I've got 2 articles here. I made a connection between the Bushes and Hillary Clinton. In 2013, Jenna Bush made the the claim that she's related to Hillary Rodham Clinton. But I just found today that Donald Trump is in lineage with Donald Trump, and they have direct descendancy to the first Duke of Lancaster. So what we have here is we got a stooge, Hillary, on the one side, who's receiving money from donors and in big banks and such. But then on the left, they got Donald Trump, who's using his own money, who's related to her, and they have no control over him. And I think the establishment is just livid by the fact that they can't control Trump because of the money.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and it also says they're 19th cousins. That is so far apart.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably 19th cousins with David Knight, honestly.
I know. I'd love to see who I'm.
That's true. We probably are.
Well, the point,
because you go back and say, hey,
what you're saying, though.
Most of us are, if you've been here for a few generations, you're probably related to somebody from the Mayflower as well. But here's the key, and you said this as well, caller. This time, just like 4 years ago, it was about Obamacare. They had to get Obamacare through. So the two candidates were Obama and Romney, who had done Romneycare, which was exactly like Obamacare. He put it together with Ted Kennedy. They wanted to get that through. They'd give you a choice on some of the other stuff. Hey, you want an old white guy, or you want a younger black guy? You want this issue over here, you want that issue over here, but we're going to make sure we get Obamacare. This time, it's about the trade treaties. It's about the climate treaties. It's about the borders. And they want all the rest of these candidates, Democrat and Republican, are with them.
Right.
Even Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders opposes the trade treaties, but he just opposes trade treaties in general because he doesn't like anybody making any money. He thinks it's about that. He doesn't oppose it on the sovereignty issue, which Jeff Sessions, Senator Sessions has pointed out that's a true issue. But Bernie Sanders is for open borders. Bernie Sanders is for the climate treaty, which will give us global regulation of our economy and a global taxation. So every other one of these candidates is on board with the globalist takeover practices that they want to do, except for Donald Trump. That's why they hate him. That's why they got to take him out. They're not sure they can get him to join with them if he becomes president, because he has opposed, and I don't think they will, because he's opposed this for 35 years. You go back and look at him spending $100,000 of his own money back in the mid-1980s to run ads opposing things like NAFTA, even before NAFTA came out, and opposing NAFTA as it goes along, saying, hey, we're going to get rid of NAFTA. So that's, I think, the key issue.
Yeah, they're talking about the NSA. I'd be very interested to see if they're...
Okay, good. Let's go back. They're going to talk about NSA.
Yeah, they were bringing up the fact that 100 security experts, national security experts, signed a letter saying that Donald Trump's bad.
Oh, okay. Bill, you mean people like Michael Hayden, who was appointed to the head of the NSA by Bill Clinton, saying that conservatives don't support him on this issue and calling for people to disobey orders. Really, I call on the NSA to disobey illegal spying on the American people. How's that, Michael Hayden?
And anybody else that happens to be in the way. They're drowning people in steel cages, and now we're talking about waterboarding. This really started with Ted. A question was asked of Ted last 2 debates ago about waterboarding. And Ted was, having a hard time with that question, to be totally honest with you.
I totally disagree with Donald Trump on this issue. But of course, here we have the people who created waterboarding, who created the surveillance state, who created the Patriot Act, criticizing him again.
Bad.
Now saying it's bad because Donald Trump supports it.
Right.
Okay.
They ran around and did it for years.
Yes, and they would all do it. They would all do it.
It wasn't even actually torture.
Yeah.
We've tortured some folks.
This is not an issue. Let me tell you something.
That was Obama.
This is not an issue on which Donald Trump disagrees with the rest of these people. They will all resort to torture. They all want the police state. They all want the surveillance state, especially hypocrites like Michael Hayden. Remember, Michael Hayden went on a program with Judge Napolitano and said, hey, we're both libertarians. And they looked at him like, what?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
They're saying Trump is fundamentally dishonest. This is coming from the national security who, under oath, said, oh, no, we're not spying on people.
Trump is wrong on this issue, but he's taking your rights like a robber, holding a gun to your face. These other guys are like burglars and pickpockets who will lie to your face and still steal what they want to get from you. That's the difference. I would rather face an armed robber who comes at me from the front than these kind of sneaks like Michael Hayden, who is nothing but a third-rate burglar. Okay, he can't even, the NSA and these people in Washington can't even protect their own personnel files from getting hacked.
That is true.
Exactly.
Okay. They can't even predict attacks on their own building.
So he's a third-rate burglar of our information is what he is.
Number one will read rebuild the military, just like Ronald Reagan did in 1981, coming out of the weak Jimmy Carter.
Hey guys, we got Adam in Washington State who wants to talk about Trump's health care plan, and
okay, cool.
Looks like Ben Carson being Secretary of Health, which I don't know. We'll see.
Not with those mandatory
Adam,
vaccines.
Go ahead, Adam.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You want to talk about the health care plan?
Just a quick question, because I know that Trump and Carson actually have been really going at each other and seem to respect each other a lot. Do you think that Carson would be a good fit, possibly, for Trump's health care plan to be either Surgeon General or Secretary of Health to help out Trump? Because Dr. Carson does have that huge background in the healthcare field.
I agree with you because he was very knowledgeable. I'll let you respond here. He was very knowledgeable about healthcare issues. If you notice in the last debate, he's been kind of tentative on so many other issues, Ben Carson, but he really knows what's going on with that. I think he would agree with most of what's in Donald Trump's plan. The things that I see here are really moving us in a direction towards freedom. I don't see anything that I disagree with in the 7 points of Donald Trump's plan, and we can talk about that. It's all very much freedom-oriented, and the things that I have seen put on conservative think tanks' websites for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as far as Carson and the Trump campaign, as I said earlier, they do seem to be, on friendly terms. I wouldn't be surprised if Carson was a part of the Trump administration in some level. But as Leanne was pointing to with those forced vaccinations, I'm a little bit leery of the guy.
Yeah, that was, I actually like Carson and a lot of things that he is for freedom, except for when it comes to those mandatory vaccines.
Yeah, we wouldn't want, maybe that would be the one thing about having him as Surgeon General. He has advocated mandatory vaccinations.
He actually commented on that. Richard Reeves asked him about that, and I don't even think we ever put this clip out to anybody. But he was asked about it. He goes, well, I don't think every vaccine should be mandatory. He goes, only if there is an epidemic, which, I mean, hopefully he wouldn't consider that measles flare up an epidemic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's an epidemic?
That's a lot of wiggle room. Yeah,
exactly.
Zika is an epidemic.
There you have to you have to look at him that way. But I think you could push back on that pretty quickly, and I think he could see. He would maybe we get Russell Blaylock, who was also a neurosurgeon, to talk to him and really explain what's going on. And really, it's the problem. Vaccine science, it's got some merit to it, but it's what they put in these things that's the real problem. It's not necessarily putting a disease or a virus into your immune system, but it's all the other things, the adjuvants, the polysorbate 80, the insect DNA, the chicken bovine DNA. I mean, it's all kind of things.
He just said he likes Richard Haas, CFR.
Well, Ted Cruz just asked Donald Trump. Ted Cruz just asked Donald Trump, do you really think, or he actually asked the public about Donald Trump, do you really want a president who's going to get up here and talk like this and be loud and demand people to do stuff? Yeah, I think most people do, because that's why they're showing up in record numbers. They're tired of the guy that we have in the White House right now that has no spine, that sits there and we're run over by everybody. We're a joke to people. We have a military that runs around in high heels that are just completely and totally worn out. He's getting awards and stuff, and he's droning people. We need a president who's going to go in there, stand up, and make people take us seriously again. Right now, we don't have that. And obviously, when you see right now, Drudge Report, you can go there right now. I've got to pull it up right here. Already in the debate, 17,365 people have already voted that Trump is winning this already. And you can see that. That's what the American people want. The fact that you watch Fox News and you see that this crowd stacked against him, you can see that this entire thing is rigged.
Yeah.
And people that just turn on TV and don't pay attention to politics go along with that and believe, like, oh my God, I guess everybody in America hates Donald Trump. No, the people that actually care and that are going out and voting, the people have spoken. This is who they want. They're showing up in massive numbers. So all these attacks are just completely and totally ridiculous.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree, especially these continued calls for releasing off-the-record accounts between people.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's a relationship between politicians and reporters, and it has been for years and years on end. Sometimes you're going to have stuff on the record, and then sometimes you're going to have it off the record. Off the record means that's between you.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Once we get rid of that, then I mean,
I'm sure every pundit on that
until Fox News demands
every pundit on that stage, I'm sure, has had an off-the-record conversation that they have no intention of presenting.
If they don't want people to keep bringing up these off-the-record conversations that Roger Ailes and Rupert Murdoch had, with Marco Rubio and Chuck Schumer trying to deceive the conservative voters about the Gang of Eight amnesty bill, then they better shut up about this. Let's talk a little bit about the health care issues. And let me just throw out a few of the 7 points. This is an article that came out today. This is from McClatchy. Here are some of the things that Donald Trump has proposed that I think they're excellent. First one is repeal the individual mandate of Obamacare. That's the core thing about Obamacare. That's the core thing that the Supreme Court Justice Roberts gave up on when we believe he was blackmailed. He wrote both the dissenting and the concurring opinion saying that they could impose an individual mandate. He would get rid of that. But then again, this thing that Marco Rubio has repeatedly criticized and mocked Donald Trump for, the lines. Well, yeah, the McCarran-Ferguson Act, which prohibited insurance companies from operating across state lines. Why would we allow multinational companies to go across national borders with totally unrestricted trade and yet restrict the trade and the competition on insurance companies within the United States? What sense does that make? Well, Donald Trump would get rid of that. And of course, Marco Rubio doesn't want to allow him to make that statement. He keeps mocking him for saying the lines. Yeah, get rid of this arbitrary anti-competitive thing that says you can't have insurance companies competing across state lines. Competition will lower insurance rates. Then go on to this. Allow taxpayers to fully deduct health insurance premium payments in their tax returns like businesses already can. Why can't we do that? Everybody tells us
that's a big savings.
That is a big savings.
Huge.
And they want to mandate. See, that's the difference.
Huge.
Yeah, that's the difference between a Democrat approach which says you're going to buy this at whatever price we give it to you, and you're not going to get it as a tax deduction, versus an incentive to say we're not going to mandate this to you, but if you take the responsibility to get insurance and take care of yourself, your family, we're going to help you with it on your taxes. If insurance is such an important thing, why can't we at least get a deduction from our income taxes when we do it, right?
And didn't they try to say that it was an incentive, not a mandate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Now, another thing that he has on here, allow individuals to use health savings accounts. This is something many conservative think tanks have been talking about for years. Make those contributions tax-free. Allow them to accumulate year after year. Make them part of an individual's estate so that anything that's not used can be passed on without a death penalty. What's to not like about that?
Two huges.
Yeah,
Two.
exactly.
Hey, we got Jimmy in Washington State who wants to talk about how Donald Trump is a job provider compared to the rest of the field. Jimmy.
Okay, good. I won't go to the rest. Let me read, before we go to him, let me do one more here, Rob. Require price transparency from all healthcare providers, including clinics and hospitals. Look.
Right.
Why can't we shop on price knowing what a hospital or a doctor or a clinic is going to charge on
everything else?
Like everything else. Why should that be hidden? Why should that be? That would be a huge, I hate to use that word because it's become a stereotype thing we're talking about Donald Trump, but it is huge to allow us to have an informed decision when we're operating. And what he's trying to do here is to create a voluntary marketplace. Do you see the trend here with these 7 patterns is to create a voluntary marketplace. That's why they haven't talked about his health plan tonight. Right. That's why they have talked about the Ku Klux Klan operations. Or what about this meeting that you had with the New York Times and so forth? Let's go to the caller.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah. This is Jimmy from Michigan.
Hey, Jimmy.
I'm not from Washington. But thanks for taking my call. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I love what you guys do.
Thank you.
You know, Trump is the only job creator of all of these people, and he understands what it takes to create jobs.
Yep.
It means that the government has to get out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
the jobs will be created organically by the people, by me.
Exactly.
Me.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's why it gets me so upset when I hear governors going on and on and on. The only one that's left now is Kasich, so he's bragging about how many jobs he created. As somebody who had a business, that makes me so angry because I know, as you just said, that the way you create jobs is to get the government out of the way. And yet he's selling us this idea that the governor is creating jobs.
Yeah, John Kasich is an idiot anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He's from Ohio. All he is a washed-out version of Rick Schneider from Lansing, Michigan. That's all he is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
I agree.
come on.
I agree.
This is what we're talking about.
Thank you so much. That's a very good point that you made. They should stop, especially if they're Republicans, they should stop saying, we created jobs. No, you can get out of the way. Government is not the solution. Government is the problem. Government is the hindrance. Let's go back to the debate. Thank you so much for your call.
I said very meekly, long before we went in, I said very meekly, well, maybe, I don't know. By the time it got to that point, I was always against Iraq. But Afghanistan, I felt, and in that one, if you notice, I corrected it the second day. Okay, second question.
There are several examples. Mr.
No.
He's very
Trump.
calm tonight.
Afghanistan being a mistake.
Right.
Within one day, you reversed yourself on Syrian refugees.
Let me explain that. You're right. Let me explain. First time the question had been put to me, it was very early on. The migration had just started, and I had heard that the number was a very, very small number. By the second day, 2 or 3 days later, I heard the number was going to be thousands and thousands of people. You know, when they originally heard about it, they were talking about bringing very, very small numbers in. And I said, begrudgingly, well, I guess maybe that's okay. It was not like, let's bring them in. Because I think we should build a safe zone. We should really, what we should be doing
He's a lot
is
more
building
comfortable in
safe
this
zones
debate.
so they
He's
can
not
stay in
letting
their own
Rubio
country and
nipping
not
at his
go all
heels
over. And at least this way, we're not
or
going to have
even
the
making
problem.
color.
That's what we have to do. But just to say, because I fully understand what you're asking, when I first heard the question, first time the question was ever asked to me, first time I really had known about the question, the migration had just started, I was very much like, okay. By the time I went back and studied it, and they were talking about bringing thousands and thousands,
And the
I
vetting
changed my
process
tune.
was
And
a
I don't
total
think there's
failure
anything
that
wrong
they
with that.
admitted they
I'm
can't
going
vet
for
them.
is you change your tune on so many things, and that has some people
How
saying,
dare you change
what is
your
his
tune
core?
when facts
Megan,
are presented?
I have a very strong call. I have a very strong call.
Why don't you get a little bit more specific, Megan, instead
But
of just
I've
making
never
broad
seen a
charges?
successful person who wasn't flexible, who didn't have a certain degree of flexibility. You have to have a certain degree of flexibility. You can't, for instance, let's say on the second question, you can't say it's okay, and then you find out it's not okay, and you don't want to do anything. You have to be flexible because you learn. I mean, before I knew, the question was asked by Bill, and the next day or the couple of days later, the question was asked by I was asked by a number of people, actually. I was asked by Sean, but I was asked by a number of people. But by that time, the number had increased significantly.
Sean was the next day after Bill.
The next day. But I had learned. I mean, nobody had ever asked me the question. This was brand new. And I really mean it. You have to show a degree of flexibility. If you're going to be one way and you think it's wrong, does that mean the rest of your life you have to go in the wrong direction because you
I wonder
don't?
if Megyn Kelly. What if Megyn Kelly was ever wrong about anything?
Yeah, or changed her mind about something when she
I did
learned the
200
facts.
meetings in New Hampshire. I don't know how many in Michigan now. And in these town halls, people come in
It's
and
like
they're
when you
very
first
emotional
learned about the
meetings.
refugee crisis,
And you know what they really
you
want to
felt
know?
bad for those people.
If somebody tells them something, can they believe it? And the reason why people are so upset in this country is because politicians all the time tell them what they want to hear, and they go to Washington or they go to the state capitol, wherever, and they don't deliver on those promises. You know, when I ran for governor of Ohio, I said not only would we balance the budget, but we would cut taxes. People said it can't be done. I wouldn't have said it if I didn't believe it. We cut taxes in Ohio more than any governor in the country, $5 billion worth of tax cuts. We're now running a surplus in Ohio. But you see, what's getting in the hearts and souls of people is they want change, and they keep putting outsiders in to bring about the change. Then the change doesn't come. Then they put more outsiders in because we're putting people in that don't understand compromise, they don't understand policy, and people...
Kasich is actually beating Rubio in the poll now. Trump has 33,421 votes at 71.74%. Then Cruz, Kasich, and Rubio in last place, the establishment's little boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rubio is just a suicide bomber. He really is.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
He's a political suicide bomber. Yeah. For the donor class, his career is going to be over unless he wants to go work for the K Street lobbyists when he gets finished with this. He can't even carry his own state.
He does have big ears.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Those are Disney big.
We have Rusty in Arkansas. I was talking about that Kasich is getting a lot of time in this debate compared to his percentages. Although he did come in second place more than I think Rubio did. So go ahead, Rusty.
Kasich butts in more.
That's right. Yeah, go ahead.
Over on him, and he started speaking his talking points about how he was governor and such. And tonight has been the same thing. So it's like they want to give him more and more time to take away from Trump. I would think. I think that's the part. But the other thing is when Kasich is speaking, the other two are just totally silent. They don't interrupt him at all. They're just like totally silent. When Trump speaks, they're always interrupting. They're always trying to cut him off.
Yeah.
And so,
and we've seen that the last two debates. I agree with you.
For Kasich, and they're being respectful for him, but when Donald Trump speaks, they're not.
And the worst one about that is Marco Rubio. We've seen this in two debates where the moderators, who are supposed to be not taking sides, are supposed to stop Rubio from talking. But all he does, he talks, and everybody, and Donald Trump will be quiet about it. Then when Donald Trump starts to answer, Marco Rubio sits there continually talking. You just saw an episode of it right there as we're watching this go on. Let him finish his point. You know, that's what they have to do. And look at him. He's going to keep talking. He's going to start talking again. He will not let anybody else talk.
With respect,
He's a Ferengi, master of deception.
Yeah.
Looked at this. The rating from the Better Business Bureau was a
Who was that?
That's the last publicly available rating.
That's a Star Wars or Star Trek here.
Result of the number of complaints they had
But it was
received.
elevated to an A.
Just
elevated.
That's never been publicly
elevated
released.
to an A. I could give it to you.
But
So here we go. Fox News really hasn't changed. It is going to be Fox News plus 3 candidates versus Donald Trump. This is what I know.
There was Trump University, which was a business that you started, and it
She
was
is such a political prostitute.
to many people. And now there is a class
Fox
action of over
News.
5,000 plaintiffs.
I would encourage everybody to go read the New York Times article that was on the Drudge Report. It's still out there, talking about how Fox News used conservative media to push the Gang of Eight's amnesty bill. Read that. Find out what these people are about. Find out what Megyn Kelly and the rest of these people who work for Roger Ailes and Rupert Murdoch are about. You need to understand what Fox News is about. It's a control technique. You're seeing it tonight. Read the New York Times expose of Fox News, and it'll wake you up.
Okay, but stand by. But what happened in that case was you countersued her. The court threw out your countersuit and made you pay almost $800,000 in legal fees of hers. And you made this same argument about 98% of the people being happy with Trump, saying she liked it while someone was standing over her shoulder. And this is what stand by. This is what the Court of Appeals found. And that woman in particular signing. They said that the plaintiffs against you are like the Madoff victims.
So the problem is that, you know, the establishment is not happy enough.
Artists often sing.
I know.
How many college students can't get jobs in this country?
They had all this stuff, by the way, folks. Think about this. They had all of these graphics that they put up to come after Trump. They had all this done before the debate.
Oh, yeah.
This is all prepared stuff. It didn't happen on the fly, okay? Didn't just magically appear out of her mind. They had this stuff set. They're coming after him. That's why he skipped the debate before it. They're fundamentally dishonest.
David, getting a college degree does not guarantee you a job.
That's right.
That is true.
Signing up for a Trump course doesn't guarantee you a job, especially his stuff. It's real estate. You got to get your hands dirty and get to work.
That's right.
These
I had a
people
lot.
You know, who knows? They might be lazy. Who knows why they didn't succeed?
We had so many political science majors who were working for us when we had a business. I had a rocket scientist one time who was working for me who had a retail business.
Tell him what you did. You were running a video store.
Yeah, we had a chain of video stores, and one of the stores, the guy would come and say, I'm a rocket scientist, and I'm working in a video store. Because he couldn't get a job in the aerospace industry. They weren't hiring at the time. And he would joke about it, you know. And the bottom line is, you know, getting a college degree, especially in things like political science, doesn't get you anywhere, folks.
Right.
That's the truth of the matter. You can go take a course on real estate, but it isn't going to make you a millionaire automatically.
You have to have money to at least get into that.
That's
You
right.
have to be able to buy a piece of property to flip it. That's how it works.
And you also have to make the right decisions. You have to buy the right properties. You have to do it at the right time, and you have to sell the properties at the right time.
You have to be able to fix it up.
There's
That's all
no
kind of
guarantees
skills.
in life.
Gotta have the gumption.
But what offends me, Rob, about this is Fox News laying an ambush here. We've got a debate between Megyn Kelly and Donald Trump. We don't have a debate between the candidates because the candidates are so weak that, the donors are telling Fox News, all right, Chris Wallace, hit him on the KKK thing. Megyn Kelly, I want you to hit him on the Donald Trump University stuff. It's like,
And
come
we've
on,
got prepared graphics.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what they're,
Exactly.
what they're trying to
That's
do
the thing.
is
No
turn
one else
the
has
tide.
prepared graphics. Did you
Nobody
notice
else
that?
has prepared graphics.
No,
They didn't do
well-
it on anybody. These other people have had some
No one
plans
else
as well.
has anything to offer.
Rubio's not worth the graphics.
Right. They don't even have any
They couldn't
history.
even pay the guy enough to make these. It's ridiculous. Hey, we got, who's the other caller? Frank in Maryland's on. Frank, go ahead.
Here you go. He's talking over him again. Okay, go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
First,
want to say Donald Trump is leading the polls more than what's being portrayed in the news. Second, Mitt Romney's a decoy. And three, and this is the most important thing, the delegates are working in the darkness. They can do whatever they want. Nobody knows who they are.
Yep.
But every state knows who their delegates are. And if you post their names before the convention, then they're going to have some fear about what's happening here. Like,
oh, that's a good idea.
What
you know what we should do? We should get the public records and do that. Yeah.
And then after the convention, you post what they vote, who they voted for. Every state has their delegates vote way before this election is coming up. So
I agree.
I feel sorry.
Outingdelegates.com. Outingdelegates.com. Somebody put it together.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. If somebody out there doesn't do it, we got to do it at Infowars. We got to get the list and publish it.
And the internet, and that will put fear into them.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't believe it.
That's right.
And that will get people motivated. Yeah.
And we put those names out. We put those names out there. We can, if people know who they are, people can investigate them and put it on the website.
Need to be outed.
Super delegates, absolutely.
If you're a super delegate, you need a giant S by your name.
Right.
Like a little Superman S.
Big red S, yeah.
Yeah, you're still online.
Here?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, because I can talk to delegates here in Maryland. They don't care what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They do not care about what I'm saying. They have their own people who vote them in. You need like 3 people to vote you to be a delegate to run for delegates here in Maryland. And even then, you need to be put up there in Maryland by their own establishment.
Yep, that's right.
So this is how it works in the system here in Maryland. I'm sure it's different in every state.
Well, and think about
it the other day.
You're talking about the delegates, and we mentioned this first with Bernie Sanders, the fact that Hillary Clinton had 400 or 500 delegates in the fall last year that already had those super delegates tied up. Right. And Bernie Sanders got 150,000 votes, and he only got 15 delegates. She just goes in and does a deal with these people in the back room. And
they work in the darkness. They work in the darkness. Yeah. They don't care. They're not even caring about the popular vote.
Yes. Right, and that's why none of these people...
They work in the darkness and don't care because they have no
nothing
obligation to do what the popular vote says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely.
Well, and that's why none of these candidates will speak out against Hillary.
We have the names here in Maryland.
Yeah,
everyone else could do it in every state.
Somebody needs to put it together. Somebody needs to put it together like Rob said, and we'll definitely link it on Infowars.com. We should do it if somebody else doesn't do it. That's a great idea. And what we're seeing here in the debate is a back and forth, and he is complaining that he gave money to Hillary Clinton, but he said something about $100,000, and it's like, but what about the $1 million, Ted, that Goldman Sachs gave you? And you didn't even declare it legally on your FEC statement. You buried it somewhere else. Really?
Forgot.
Really, Ted? Yeah, he forgot. He forgot about it.
Forgot about that.
That's what I mean. It's like, look, I don't like the fact that Donald Trump gave Hillary Clinton money, okay? But, you know, the hypocrisy of this.
At least he came out and admitted it day one.
And Ted Cruz gets 10 times the amount of money from Goldman Sachs that Donald Trump gave to Hillary Clinton. And you know, when he talked about that, he says, yeah, I gave her, they said, hey, she came to your wedding. Yeah, I gave her money. In other words, like, I own her. You know, it was a put down of Hillary Clinton. I don't like the fact that he's doing that, but it's 1/10 of the amount of money that Ted Cruz is getting from Goldman Sachs. Talk about that.
They own him.
Disavow Goldman Sachs, Ted.
Hey, let's go to Kit Daniels, who is standing by in our Twitter station. And Kit, what's going on? You got a WWE SmackDown tweet.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people on Twitter comparing the GOP debate to professional wrestling. Got this lady here. It says, oops, I lost my... just 1 second. I lost my...
well, I know
TV
while
screen.
you're looking for that, I saw a quote from Governor Ventura the other day.
Got it back on.
What he's actually saying, it was like watching the WWE,
Yeah.
but go ahead.
Yeah, this lady says, my husband took me to a WWE SmackDown for my birthday once. The audience was slightly less crazy than this one. And you got this other gentleman that says, is it too late to institute WWE Royal Rumble rules? And there one's talking about, anyone else think that we're using the soundtrack for a rowdy WWE audience for the GOP debate? No, we just got GOP establishment people in the audience that are cheering on Rubio and Cruz to a little bit of an extent.
Too bad. Chair upside the head.
We need to get that WWE clip, where Donald Trump took down that one guy. What's his name?
Yeah. There's Dalen was showing me. Dalen was showing me a GIF earlier, a meme on the internet.
Oh yeah, you can see the YouTube video. And then
there's Jakar.
And then he shaved. Yeah, there we go. Somebody made a WWE thing of the Infowars people. But yeah, I want to see the one where he took the guy down and then he shaved his head, because I want to see when he does that to the other three candidates.
Right.
I want to see when Donald Trump shaves the head of these other three candidates like he did that guy in the WWE. They're getting shaved already. He's already shaved them in 10 out of the 15 contests. But
and to add to the comparison, I mean, people Twitter blew up when when Trump had to defend his manhood within the first 7 minutes of the debate. You had a tweet here said, "Oh my God." Then you had another tweet that said, "Okay, we just reached a new cultural frontier."
Yeah.
It just goes on from here. Let me give you one more. Trump pairing Rubio's slam on small hands becomes first presidential candidate in history to refer to the size of his package. So yeah, I mean, this is completely.
We'll have to defer to Marco Rubio's expert on those matters. So yeah, I think that Ted Cruz should disavow Caitlyn Jenner. I mean, she's absolutely, he or she is, Bruce Jenner is absolutely contradictory to.
Absolutely.
And has been disendowed.
So yeah, this whole debate just shows us how the society has completely fallen to idiocracy. I think it was one of the writers who said that he couldn't believe that within his lifetime it's fallen so badly to this level.
Well, thanks, Kit. Let's go to Darren McBreen. I think has got something for us. Darren. Oh, let's go to break. That's what we said. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. They're on break. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
About a year and a half ago, Anthony Gucciardi just said, man, I just did a Dr. Grip's liver cleanse, the one he recommends, and he's developing this proprietary stuff he's testing on himself right now. You really ought to do it. The results are dramatic after 6 days. And I'm like, no way I'm doing it. I don't believe that there's giant black or green balls in my gallbladder. And this is how ignorant I am. And he's like, look at it online. I'm not looking at it online, because stuff like that grosses me out. I don't want to go there. Well, finally, about 6 months ago, they convinced me to do it.
I personally think everybody should go through a liver cleansing if you haven't done one. Results speak for themselves. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people have done this, and it dates back even 1,000 years, drinking oils to cleanse and purge the liver. Actually, the Greeks and over in India with Ayurvedic medicine have done it the same way. But how it works is what you should do, and this is what our proprietary research led us to do back starting in the early 90s when we were looking at the best ways to cleanse the liver, was to develop an herbal formula that contains herbs that will help soften or break down these globules or these stones in the liver and the gallbladder.
This liver shield is the high-quality proprietary liver Trex developed by Dr. Grip that we've private labeled through him, and it's extremely strong, extremely concentrated, extremely high-powered. You combine that with the Oxy Powder, oxygen-based intestinal cleanser, dietary supplement, clinically tested. We have them discounted at the lowest price you're going to find anywhere. Infowarslife.com. Obviously, folks should probably talk to their healthcare provider before they do this. This is one of the single biggest results, if not the biggest, I've ever seen in my life, literally in a 6-day period. This is something anybody can do. Obviously, the literature is well known on what liver cleanses do. This is the best one out there from our research. Infowarslife.com or 888-253-3139. The Infowars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico. by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support 100% organic coffee infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at Infowars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfowarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfowarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients. Extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules, you will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at InfowarsLife.com. That's InfowarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139. In the decade after iodine was added to staple foods, there was a 15-point increase in IQs in the areas that had previously been deficient. This is something on record our bodies need. I've gone out and found the best source for myself and my family. I hope you'll visit InfowarsLife.com and get our Infowars Life Survival Shield, because all of my research shows this is absolutely key to getting people out of the brain fog that they've been artificially put into by the social engineers. Symbol.
Welcome back to the Infowars News live coverage of the Michigan GOP debate. I'm David Knight with Leanne McAdoo, Jakari Jackson, the rest of the Infowars crew. We're going to come back to the debate here. Also want to give, we've been taking phone calls. I also want to give out the Skype handle. What is the Skype handle, Jakari?
It is Call Alex Jones. So if you guys do have Skype capabilities, you can go to Call Alex Jones, and it's video Skype only. So make sure you have a good, clear connection, all the good stuff you need, the good lighting, so we don't have to do that on the back end.
Really?
Just get that all ready.
Well, we're having a question right now. Megyn Kelly, remember, okay, Fox News is a conservative news organization, but they're trying to put the idea out here. What is the federal government going to do to help the schools in Detroit? Hey, conservatives, Fox News, Megyn Kelly, here's a news flash for you. There's no constitutional authority for the federal government to run education. We don't want the federal government running education. And so we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to the debate in just a moment. Before we do, we went about an hour without any ads. We want to let you know that there is a sale going on right now. Silver Bullet you can get for 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com. Again, Silver Bullet, our colloidal silver that is 3 times what you'll normally see from most colloidal silvers. 30 parts per million, and that is available now at 50% off. huge sale at InfoWarsStore.com. Of course, silver is something that you can keep in your survival bug-out bag. It's something that you can keep for an emergency. It is never going to go bad. So make sure you stock up right now. 50% off at InfoWarsLife.com. Actually, I think you can get there from InfoWars Store as well. Before we go back to the debate, I want to also talk about how Marco Rubio is not only dodging questions tonight, but he's dodging meetings. Okay, he has quietly canceled rallies in Kentucky and Louisiana, who are going to be having their primaries and caucuses this weekend. He is also dodging CPAC, which is the big conservative thing that has started today, actually. He's not going to be talking, and there are people calling for the exclusion of Donald Trump. And guess who those people would be? Those would be people who formerly worked with the Romney campaign, people who have a Romney super PAC. And they're saying, well, he's not conservative enough to be there. Well, we've had Gary Johnson on one side. We've had Rick Santorum speaking there as well. And this is a quote from a PAC that is saying that they want Donald Trump disinvited from CPAC. This is Rick Wilson and Liz Mayer. They have this PAC, which is called Make America Awesome. And they point out that Trump is not conservative enough. But let's take a look at what Liz Mayer, who runs this anti-Trump PAC, has done. She's described herself as pro-choice, pro-gay marriage, pro-amnesty, has suggested her definition of conservatism is not one that matches the typical grassroots conservatism. So there you go. That's Make America Awesome. They don't believe in free speech. They sound to me like a bunch of anti-free speech leftists. But they're calling for Trump's exclusion from CPAC. Let's go back to the debate momentarily, and then I think, yes, what have you got? Go ahead, Rob.
Josh Owens, yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Let's go back to the debate here. Let's see what they're, let's pick up with the debate.
Number one, you lift the regulations. As president, I will repeal Obamacare, the biggest job killer in America. I will pull back the federal regulators, the EPA, and all the regulators that are killing small businesses and manufacturing. And my tax plan, which is a very, very detailed plan on the website, tedcruz.org, is what's called border adjustment.
It's funny, you know, Fox News didn't have anything about his tax plan in terms of and stuff. And you know what? Everything that Ted Cruz just said here, I have heard every Republican candidate say in every election.
Yes.
This is generalized, boilerplate, fill-in-the-blank stuff that he's throwing out here. I want to cut regulation and taxes. We're going to be great.
Yeah, everything's going to just be wonderful. Just vote me in.
32% differential. What that will do, Chris, is bring millions of manufacturing jobs back to this country, bring the steel
The only place that we ever see any specificity on these plans from the Republican candidates is on their tax plans, which they know they can put that out there. Nothing's really going to happen. They talk about the tax percentages and the tax brackets that they're going to do. But I've never before, and I said this about Donald Trump. At first, I was very negative about the fact that everybody was just following him on a cult of personality. And that's really what it was for the first couple of months. But then when he put out his immigration plan, and he's done this over and over again today, the latest one, and I think the best plan he's had is the health care plan. He's been very, very specific, far more specific than any of the other candidates. For the most part, if they talk about an issue, they'll have a general outline of one topic, one paragraph. But he's come out with things that are very, very specific. When he came out with the first one with immigration, it was like 2 or 3 pages printed. And I said at the time, I said, there's a lot of stuff I agree with, a lot of things I disagree with on here, but I appreciate the fact that it was a plan with a lot of specificity. We don't get that from these guys, and of course, we don't see Fox News preparing in advance screens to criticize the plans of any of these other candidates on the stage except for Donald Trump.
Right.
Hey guys, we have an historic moment about to happen. This is our first live Skype caller.
Let's try that.
And it's Jason from the home state of John Kasich.
Oh,
Jason, did you vote for John? Shake your head, yes.
No.
All right. Well, go ahead with your comment.
Hey, just a real quick question. Am I wrong, or whatever? These guys are supposed to be lawyers, yada, yada, yada. Why isn't anybody correcting these morons when they're talking about democracy when the United States is supposed to be a constitutional republic?
No, I agree. I agree. Yep.
You know,
you're not going to hear him talk about that.
Democracy. We're a republic. Are these guys just that brain dead or what?
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think about the idea that we had 2 constitutional amendments, one to prohibit alcohol and one to make it legal again? Why is it that you can prohibit everything, okay, whether it's pot or heroin or whether it's a pharmaceutical drug? Everything is prohibited by the government if they wish. and everything is prohibited to us unless it is expressly permitted by the FDA or the DEA. Why do you think nobody has a problem with that? Let me ask you.
Because it's the dumbing down of America.
That's right.
Because of fluoride. And from the pharmaceuticals, of course, too.
And our media
That's true.
specifically.
That's true.
And it's not even the drugs, David. You know, we've seen people get arrested for raw milk, you know, transporting that across state lines. Just the most benign behavior out there. They want to put anybody in jail.
Yeah, when they prohibited alcohol, everyone in the country understood that based on the 9th and 10th Amendment and the rest of the Constitution, everything, the federal government had no power unless it was expressly given to them. And so I said, we have to expressly give the power to prohibit alcohol. We all agree that we want the government to prohibit alcohol at the federal level, so we have to amend the Constitution to do that. And then they undid that. But then they have prohibited everything else since then. The United Nations created the Schedule on Drugs that Richard Nixon made the war on drugs in 1971. The UN created that schedule of 4 different schedulings of drugs. They did that in 1961. Nobody pays any attention to the Constitution on anything. They don't care about dragnet surveillance or anything. I mean, it is, these guys all swear allegiance to it, and they're all liars because they could care less. As you pointed out, caller, they're all lawyers, but they're also liars. Because they swear to something they have no intention of and here's Exhibit A. Ted Cruz. When people ask him, what is the basis for you being a natural-born citizen? He refuses to explain. He says, hey, I've argued before the Supreme Court. How dare you ask me that? Well, then fine, Ted. If you can argue before the Supreme Court, if you can give them a reason for the cases that you argue, then argue your case to the American public. Tell us on your website why you are a natural-born citizen according to an originalist interpretation of the Constitution. What did those words originally mean? What does it say in the Constitution? Tell us how you're a natural-born citizen instead of saying, well, if you're going to question my credentials, then you have to question Rubio. My point exactly. Rubio is not eligible either. So, yeah, let's go back to the debate real quickly here.
Had it been left to the states, and I think most people would have preferred that.
Senator Rubio, the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, a conservative icon, obviously pointed out in United States versus Heller that, like most rights, the Second Amendment right is not unlimited. Just like the First Amendment doesn't allow you to go into a theater and yell fire, he said the Second Amendment leaves room to regulate guns. So do you agree with Justice Scalia? And if so, what limits would you draw around the Second Amendment?
As few as possible. The Second Amendment, as I've said before, is not a suggestion. It is the constitutional right of every American to protect themselves and their families.
Let me say something.
It is a right that...
Just because Scalia says you can regulate a right and turn it into a privilege doesn't mean that Scalia was right about that. Understand that if you take a fundamental right and you start regulating it, you start prescribing it, you start, let's use the term that's in the Constitution, you infringe it.
Right.
You infringe it. That's how people take your property. They put their fence on your property and you leave it there long enough, guess what? It becomes their property. If they infringe on your constitutional God-given rights that are recognized by the Constitution expressly, if they take those in a gradual process and call it regulation, they've now turned it into a principle. They've now abrogated your God-given right that is specifically protected under the Constitution. That's what we need to understand. The word infringement was put there because the founders understood that when you have an armed citizenry, the government is not going to go in and in one fell swoop confiscate the guns. They will take away your gun rights by a gradual process of infringement. And you don't say, well, I'd have as little bit of infringement as possible. I would only make that girl a little bit pregnant. Yeah.
And if you look at what's happened, whether it's in California where you had the 14 people killed, whether it's in Paris, which, by the way, has the toughest gun laws in the world, and 130 people killed, many, many people in the hospital, gravely injured. They will be dying. Many people will be dying in addition. If we had guns, or if they had guns on the other side of the room with the bullets going in the opposite direction, you would not have had 130 people killed. That I can tell you right now.
Right.
So I'm a very, very
That's the exact same thing the singer that was there that night on stage when all this was going on, he was crying and saying that he absolutely thinks that it was the gun laws in France that made that massacre what it was.
Hey guys, we have another Skype caller. This is Keith from Massachusetts. Before we go to him, what was the other guy's? Truth War turn your speakers on because our callers are trying to talk to you, and we see you there. And this is a guy that's called him before. He's a young man who has his own talk show, but I don't think he's hearing us.
Okay, hang on a second before he says this. I got to tell you what Ted Cruz is going to say. They threw out this case of Heller in Washington because he's argued in that case. He argued for Texas before the Supreme Court on Heller. So that was a softball question indirectly by Fox News to Ted Cruz. And I'm telling you, he's going to point out that he argued before the Supreme Court on this case that Brett Baer just put out there.
All right, Keith in Massachusetts, go ahead.
Hello, Keith.
Go ahead, Keith. Can you hear us?
Well, I was just saying that I think Donald Trump should be the president, and I also agree with what David Knight said earlier about everybody being against Donald Trump. It's not cool.
Yeah, it's a very rigged process in this debate tonight, isn't it? Pretty obvious to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious to me, that's for sure. And, of course, he did just invoke Heller, like you said.
Yep, I knew he would do it. And see, that's the kind of things that Fox News is doing. They could have talked about it in a number of ways. And quite frankly, our old friend, Piers Morgan, remember Piers? Remember Alex going on Piers Morgan and fighting him on gun control? Piers Morgan talked about his longtime friendship with Donald Trump because Piers Morgan got his big boost in show business by going on The Apprentice. And he said, yeah, we've kept in touch, and he's been a loyal friend and everything, but we vehemently disagree on guns. And he talked about back and forth that they'd had for going back many years, where Donald Trump said to him, hey, Piers, guns are a good thing. They protect people. So now they want to say that he doesn't support the Second Amendment. Second Amendment.
With the truth. I wrote one op-ed supporting President Bush's nomination after he made it. I would not have made that nomination. But let me point out,
not what you say in the op-ed. That is not what you said in the op-ed.
Donald, please, I know it's hard not to interrupt.
But it's not what you said in the op-ed.
Breathe.
Donald Trump is not the first one to say that he promoted Roberts for Supreme Court. Many people have said that.
You cannot. I really hope that we don't
see he lets Trump get him flustered. Just keep talking and don't get flustered.
You cannot, in fact, care about conservative Supreme Court justices and support Jimmy Carter for president. You cannot care about conservative Supreme Court justices and support John Kerry for president, as Donald did. You cannot care about conservative Supreme Court justices and support Harry Reid for Senate Majority Leader. And you cannot care about conservative Supreme Court justices and write 4 checks to Hillary Clinton for her to be president if you care at all about the Second Amendment or religious liberty or anything else.
Gentlemen, we're going to move on.
I was buying everyone off on this stage.
Questions coming up.
And coming
we got John in Missouri, another Skype caller, and then I think we'll go back to some landline calls after this. Oh, we do have another Skype caller, but let's go to John in Missouri on number 2. He's on number 2. John, how's it going?
John.
What's going on out there?
Good. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great. So it's good to see young people calling in, getting involved. And so what's on your mind?
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Not only do we have a government that wants to rewrite the Constitution, we have a government that I think would go so far as to rewrite the Holy Bible. And so when we have a government, it's like Dave said, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights says no infringement shall be taken upon the Second Amendment. But we have infringement. Not only that, but I think if we don't get Trump in, this will be our last real election. And that's my point.
Well, I
agree with you there.
I agree with what you said about our government not respecting the Constitution. Clearly they don't. And we were just talking about the government moving against people who were at the Bundy Ranch standoff. And as we went out there, I'll never forget driving out there and in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I mean, you just drive and drive and drive, and there's nothing anywhere because it's all under the control of the BLM. And the federal government says it's their land, which under the Constitution, they don't own land except for the District of Columbia. But nevertheless, they pretended it's their land. And they've got the militarized army to make it so. And they've got this little tiny fence out there with a prepared sign that says First Amendment area. And somebody handwrote a sign that said the First Amendment is not an area.
Yeah, free
it's
speech.
Very powerful. The truth is very powerful. We have to stop allowing them to prescribe our rights, which is what we literally saw there when we went to Bunkerville. And now they're arresting people who were there as part of that protest, and it is absolutely shameful what this tyrannical government is doing. It makes me sick.
And as you're speaking on that, David, I mean, it's not just there, you know, in that situation. You go any place all around the country. You know, we travel the country quite a bit. We run into these free speech zones, as they're referred to, all over the place. They say, you can stand in this little box, whether it's, you know, out at some protest or at a university. And this is where you can have your little documented place if you come and ask our permission beforehand. That's not what the First Amendment's about, and I'm very glad.
And where were the first places they did that, Jakari? The first places they did that were the presidential conventions. Yeah, Democrat and Republican.
Safety.
Yeah, they move all the protesters. We have under the First Amendment the right to protest and air our grievances, right? And so what they do is they put everybody, literally, as you pointed out, in a cage, and they put this cage way far away from where the convention is, and they say, go ahead, you got your little free speech.
Over by the porta potties, you can have all the free speech you want.
Air your grievances where no one can hear you.
The First Amendment is not an area. And if we cover the Republican or Democrat conventions this year with Infowars, believe me, we are going to shine the spotlight on that reprehensible approach that our government is doing, because if they can prescribe your free speech in that way, they can do it in every other way. And of course, they do want to do that. They do want to take down the internet because they are losing the information war. It was Hillary Clinton herself who said that they're losing the information war.
John, do you have anything else to add out there in Missouri?
Well, I just want to say, if people think that Donald Trump is racist, why don't we go speak to Diamond and Silk? Because I'm sure they would end that debate in a heartbeat.
Yeah, or talk to Louis
on this show,
or talk to Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Nobody's asking him to disavow that.
Or his spokesperson, like the caller earlier pointed out.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what, David, I think you did a great job taking down Jason earlier tonight. Very good job.
Oh, well, I don't like to be rude to people, but there comes a point at which things are so glaringly obvious that we just have to state it. I mean,
God bless you guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for calling.
Thanks for calling in.
We got somebody else, Rob, or you want to go to a break?
All right.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of free
we have
form
Walmart
tonight,
in
folks. It's a
Seattle.
live show. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Hi.
Seattle.
Good evening.
Good one.
Hi, how you doing? Go ahead. You're live.
Great. I'm Muammar Mehmedovich, and I'm from Seattle. I want to endorse Donald Trump as someone who's not born in this country, but a U.S. citizen. I love how he's
Now,
trying to work.
you're not, wait a minute. You're not with the KKK, are you? Do we have to have him disavow?
No.
Okay.
Here's the other thing.
I'm joking.
Here's the other thing.
I'm joking, yeah.
Here's the other thing. I'm also a Muslim.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So tell us why you support Donald Trump then. Do you feel like he is racist against Muslims?
He's not racist. What he's trying to do is to basically stop the Wahhabi alliance, which is basically a form of Islam that is destroying the Muslim nations. Basically, I don't know why the CIA supports this form of Islam, but
I know why.
I know why. You want us to tell you why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I really don't know. There's no.
It's because of Saudi Arabia. It's because Saudi Arabia and the CIA and the U.S. have been joined at the hip ever since they created the petrodollar alliance, and they truly are involved with the CIA, the Wahhabis. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Wahhabi, and Trump is probably going to stop that. Like, he knows that form of Islam is not. You see, Muslims in the beginning, when Islam was formed, had trouble of these radical elements.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you look at Islamic history, these groups came along and went, but usually the Muslims took care of these groups.
Well, you're right, and we all have to remember that Islam is not monolithic, just as Christianity is not monolithic, just as Judaism is not monolithic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have people from all religions that do something insanely that affects all of those inside that religion. So
yes,
I support Donald Trump on the immigration, because we can't just let people, even though I was born in Bosnia, my parents came here legally with paperwork, and the government looks through those paperwork, but you can't just cross the border and
I agree.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is there's a way to do it legally, and that's what he says. Obviously, his wife did it legally.
We can't just let people come across the border anywhere. They say, okay, well, I'm Catholic, and so you can come in, or we racist against Catholics. No, you look at their criminal background. You have to know who these people are. And what he was saying, and I think you understand that, is that we have to understand who these people are before they come in. We just can't open up our doors, blanket, not knowing who's coming in, especially when we're talking about bringing in people from areas that are currently at war with the West.
That have said they're going to plant people here that are going to cause us much strife.
Yes.
And we can't vet them.
We do want smart people to come over, hardworking people to come over, but without any people who want to destroy the country, the nation.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got enough of those people here already.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much for the call. It's very, very good call.
No problem.
Yes, thank you. Let's go back to the debate real quickly. Let's see what they're talking about here. Let's catch up for a moment.
Gentlemen, you both have had a chance to talk. You both have had
talking about ISIS
a couple of times. I'd like to
everybody's talking over.
Senator, we have some breaking news tonight. North Korea's dictator, Kim Jong-un, has ordered that country's nuclear weapons to be made ready.
Oh, they're lighting up the firecrackers.
And this comes just hours after the UN Security Council.
How many times a year does he say this?
Team America.
Yeah.
Send them out. Let's go.
Didn't they have some other breaking news? He fired some sort of a nuclear weapon the last GOP debate.
It's very disturbing.
We have some
Kim
breaking
Jong-un has
news.
put their nuclear weapons on ready state.
You know, Jakari, I
Here
think
it is.
our
We got their
military
rocket
is laying
test. Here it is. Here it is.
There we go.
Here it comes. Here it comes. There. Oh,
He's like the necessary little evil, the bad guy. Like they like to keep in the drawer to pull out from time to time to prove the fact that our government needs to be bigger and we need more and more military.
That's the guy. I mean,
it's the neocons. It's the neocon people that have dug in the GOP to oppose Trump. And of course, they love Ted Cruz.
Every time things calm down a little bit, then they come out and go, oh my God, Kim Jong-un's about to come out and blow us up with nukes. And they use that to put the fear back, is to legitimize why we need this big government. We need all this military. We need more. We need more. We need more. It's completely and totally ridiculous. This guy's not going to do anything.
He's a joke,
it's going to be like one of those bottle rockets. That thing's going to go up and come down. It's going to blow himself up.
That's right. And I want to repeat to people what we said at the beginning of the program when they talked about how the neocons are digging in and going to war with Donald Trump. And all these people from the CFR, all of these neocons that they talk to, people like Bill Crystal, the Weekly Standard. And by the way, you spell that W-E-A-K-L-Y Standard, okay? But basically, all these neocons and people from the CFR, they say they would rather have Hillary Clinton. Why would they rather have Hillary Clinton than Donald Trump? Because Hillary Clinton will give them their wars, and they don't think that Donald Trump will, because he has spoken out against the lies about weapons of mass destruction. He's spoken out against this enacting no-fly zones. What are they doing here with this? Let's go back to the feed here.
They're saying he might name Putin as his running mate.
Vladimir Putin. I just think so.
Oh my gosh. Really?
I can't believe they put that up. You talk about them being, are they moderators or are they?
This is a hit piece.
Yeah, I mean, what a ridiculous thing. You know what? Fox News is worse than CNN or MSNBC, quite frankly. I don't understand why conservatives watch this trash. Read the New York Times article about how Fox News owner and the guy who runs their news, Roger Ailes, look at how they manipulated you conservatives, tried to at least, with this news channel here and with their talk show hosts. Read that article, pass it on to everybody, bust the lies wide open from Fox News. This is a disgrace, this debate tonight.
Why shouldn't we make allies with Russia? Why should we constantly be at war, per se, and constantly in fear of Russia? Why is that? Why are these people so scared? It's good. It's good. It's good, though, that Putin would like Donald Trump. It's good that he would want to. Yes, it's good that we can maybe open up some doors and maybe start doing stuff with him. Like Trump said earlier, they started hitting him about Russia. He said, hey, why not? He said, why are we so busy going and fighting pointless wars in Iraq and Afghanistan? Why don't we start building bridges? Let's stop trying to make everybody enemies. He's like, we have a country to fix, and we can help each other. We can help. We can have Russia help us fight ISIS, and we can take them out quickly. Why is it so hard for us to be able to have Russia as an ally?
Because they're the axis of evil.
Donald Trump asked the same question all of us have been asking. Why would the U.S. be protecting ISIS? Why would they be arming ISIS? Why can't we just get rid of these guys? Or if the Russians will do it for us, Why are we opposing that? Listen, you said you talked about that, and I can't believe that they would put up a mock YouTube type of video here to come after Donald Trump and say
more
that
Donald
Putin is
graphics.
Well, I think it was Kasich's video. It was Kasich's video, I believe.
A campaign ad, yeah.
But here's the deal.
Still to show the clips.
You say, why would they do this? Well, I'll tell you why. It's a military-industrial complex. It's what they do. It's called war for money, okay?
War for profit. Yeah.
War for profit. And when the wall came down, when the Soviet Union imploded, because they did the same thing that the military-industrial complex is trying to do to our country, when their economy imploded and we had a period of peace, they were wringing their hands. What do we do now? How do we make money? So they created a war on terror with a lot of false flag attacks, okay? That wasn't enough money for them. They said, we really need to have this big military-industrial complex that was giving us the intercontinental ballistic missiles, that was giving us the intercontinental bombers. Let's get that back. We need to have, it's not enough to have a permanent war on terror to create a police state industrial complex. We need that military industrial complex back. You know, the really big stuff, the big ships, the big bombers, the big missiles. So let's recreate the Cold War.
Right.
And that's what they've been doing these last several years, okay? That's what this is all about. It's about money for the neocons.
Right. Yes.
Understand what this is about. It's about Goldman Sachs and other people who support the neocon candidates like Rubio and Cruz, especially Cruz. That's what they want. They want war for profit. That's why they're doing this. They want to kill us. They want to rob us. We need to wake up to this.
KBR, Halliburton, Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, guys, we got Ron in Boise, Idaho. We're going to do 2 more Skype callers, and then we'll go back to our landline callers who've been holding for a very long time. Thank you guys for holding. But we got Ron in Boise, and then some guy named John in Austin. So we'll see what he's got to say. But anyway, go ahead, Ron in Boise.
And it's Don, not Ron, but that's okay. Yeah.
Hey, Don.
And hey, I've been watching the debates, and look, I've been 60 years old, so I voted in quite a few elections in my time, and I can't say I've ever seen one quite so energized as I've seen this one. You take time to watch these silly debates, which I never used to watch before, because you always get the same, same platitudes, the same multi-point talking plans about I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and nobody does anything at all, as Mr. Trump has pointed out on more than one occasion.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what we saw tonight. The first question to Ted Cruz, I agree with you, Don. The first question to Ted Cruz, they asked him a specific question about why evangelicals were voting for Donald Trump instead of him. And he gave him a prepared speech that he'd worked out in advance. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump doesn't do that. That's the thing. He does not come out there with a written speech by some professional. What you see is what you get.
That's right.
I think it's time we had something like that in D.C.
That's right.
And, you don't have to like him. Who said the president had to be liked?
That's right.
We're supposed to be electing an executive to run our country, not someone who's running a popularity contest.
That's right.
And that's where I'm at today.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, boys and girls, you're never going to find somebody that you agree with on all points. And I've got many points that I disagree with Donald Trump. I haven't changed my mind on those points, but I realize that those points that I disagree with him on, I also disagree with all the rest of the Republicans and all the Democrats on as well. So I see some positive reasons to vote for him. Thank you so much, Don. Let's go to the next Skype caller. Go ahead. Who's the next Skype caller, Rob?
John in Austin.
In Austin? We got another Skype caller in Austin?
It's John, not Don.
Okay, John, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out there, Mr. Knight, that the Smith-Mundt Act was repealed.
I know that guy.
Your voice sounds so familiar.
3 years ago. So the propaganda that you just witnessed, that they showed, like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Which, 10 years ago, that would have been a big deal. People's heads would have rolled for that.
Mm-hmm.
But propaganda is legal.
Right.
Killing Americans is legal.
Right. Well,
taking over your spiritual essence is legal. So the Skeksis that exist out there, Miss Leanne, and hello, Jakari.
Hey.
And everybody else over there.
Hey, John Bound. Yeah, right.
From my command base. Yeah,
Command
everybody needs to know that propaganda is legal.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go see a movie propaganda is legal.
Right.
It's not. There aren't any. Nothing's hidden anymore.
John Bound, are you saying that we should change, that Fox News should change their name to like Voice of America or something?
Yeah, they might as well.
Yeah,
they might as well. Well, they're just a outfitted voice. I'm sorry, Leanne. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, I believe we were talking about this yesterday, about the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act, and how this time around, how all the cable news networks, all the pundits, everyone is so vocal about who they like and who they dislike. They're very outspoken about take down Trump. They're not even trying to hide it in the media.
And now they're asking
the repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act.
Now they're asking the questions. Fox News is asking, would you support Donald Trump if he's a nominee? I mean, unbelievable.
Well,
it's just kind of gone full circle from the very first debate.
We all had our differences with Trump.
Yeah.
We've all been through the hell that we've all gone through with Obama. We were sold one way or another. Each one of us was sold. Everybody in this country, not just the Infowars crew, but everybody. That's why we're so angry. So when Trump comes out and he starts saying these things that make total sense to us, your initial reaction, especially, the first president I remember was Richard Nixon. So I've been getting robbed my whole life.
Yep.
So,
yep.
When Trump comes out and starts saying these things, you got to just, your gut tells you they can't be real. But, today when Mitt Romney came out like a complete idiot and tried to slam Trump, that speech that Trump gave was the first time that I started really believing in Trump, because he had passion. He wasn't thinking, he had everything scripted. He was teleprompter free like Infowars. And he was passionate about what he was saying, and there was an immediacy in his voice and a knowledge of what he's been thinking about these things for a long time.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I love the Holy Grail. Run away, run away.
Run away.
But
we are the knights who say knee.
Knee. Bring me a strawberry.
Here's the thing that's going on here, John. They're going through and they're asking all the candidates to do a loyalty oath to the Republican Party. This is what they're, Mr. Trump, would you support the nominee if it's not you? Mr. Kasich, would you support Mr. Trump?
Join us.
Because
Join us.
And that's exactly, Rob. That was what we saw the other day with Reince Priebus talking to Allison Camerado of CNN, saying, no, you don't understand, Allison. This is not an election. I mean, he didn't say it's not an election, but in so many words he did. He says, no, you don't understand what's going on. They're trying to join us. And he's moving his hands like, join us. And she goes, well, yeah, kind of, but it's an election. And the voters are like, no, Allison, you don't understand. They're trying to join us.
And that's pretty much what's put us in this negative system, because everybody is so loyal to a party, or they're loyal to a guy, and not loyal to their ideas and their principles.
Or the Constitution. Why don't they ask them if they would be loyal to the Constitution instead of this Republican Party? We need to change the GOP to the globalist oligarch party.
Yes.
Yeah, Rubio looks worn out.
Yeah.
Rubio's the youngest one on the stage, and he looks completely worn out.
Right.
Well, he was crying his eyes out earlier today because they told him he doesn't have a chance. He finally realized it, I think.
Oh, he's been chasing Trump around all day, or his whole campaign, I guess.
Well, did you hear, John, that he's not going to be going to CPAC? That he has canceled a Louisiana as well as a Kentucky scheduled events tomor's
Yeah, he's given up.
Yeah,
he's thrown in the towel, and he knows it.
Yeah, he's been given the word that he's going to stay there to try to suck off some more votes, but he's already been given the talk by the people who are in control. Saying, you know what, you're not a guy.
I personally met Ted Cruz, and Ted follows the Constitution as far as we know. But my own personal experience, it wasn't like meeting a Jakari Jackson, who is a wonderful, honest human being. It was more like meeting a used car salesman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I met him, he looked right through me. He looked right past me. He didn't give a crap about me.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, John, I don't think he cares about the Constitution either. I don't think he's eligible. I don't think he will make a constitutionalist, originalist argument for why he is a natural-born citizen. He voted for the Trade Promotion Authority, which is a violation of the constitutional process to ratify treaties. And he voted for that before he then voted against it when they didn't need his vote. Marco Rubio was the deciding vote for the TPA. I don't believe that he supports the Constitution at all.
No, he's He's just another part of the corporation.
That's right.
You know.
Hey, guys, we got a caller, James in Detroit, who is the host city of this debate. And so he could probably give us some insight on what is really going on with Detroit. I've been there.
Well, the debate just ended.
It's a run. Thank God.
Oh, okay.
Because
Thanks,
that was
John
just
Bell.
a backdrop. That was just a ruse to get people to tune in to
The
what
O'Reilly factor,
is really going on.
Puppies or kittens.
Exactly. Puppies or kittens, what do you want? James, go ahead.
With all of the primaries that are coming up, it is obvious that Donald Trump is in the lead by a wide margin. Now, at the time of the RNC, when they actually announce their candidate, they are going to be conspiring against Trump. They are not going to nominate him. Will he run, do you think, as an independent?
Caller, I disagree with you. They're not going to be conspiring against Donald Trump. They're going to be conspiring against the American voters. We need to understand what's really involved here. We need to understand that they could care less about the political process or the will of the people. They are going to try to push through their collective backdoor power broker.
They're going to do whatever it takes, David.
That's right.
They're going to do whatever it takes because their backs are up against the wall. They spend all their time out in Hollywood in their Illuminati sex clubs, ignoring and owning all of us, and over in the Vatican, ruling over us with the spiritual warfare that they are, which is something we don't really talk about a whole lot, but that's what we've reached right now. We're at a threshold right now with our morality. And,
I agree.
Well, you have career politicians that don't want to lose money. They want to keep their wealth. They want to keep their power. And Donald Trump has billions of dollars. He does not need any of their money. And that's why they are after him like hawks.
Well, again, as we were talking about before, I have a lot of issues I disagree with Donald Trump on. But one thing, and I believe that he's authentic about it because he did it 35 years ago, or 30 years ago, I should say, 85, I think. He is against this globalist takeover. He's against these trade agreements. He's against everything that they're trying to put into place right now. They know that he is going to oppose them on this. That's why they would rather have Hillary Clinton. They would like to have somebody who is going to give them their wars, who's going to give them their treaties that they want to push through. That's why they're pushing back against him. What they need to worry about is that Donald Trump might get elected and we might create a political party that excludes these people. We might push them over into the Democrat Party where they belong. They have run both parties for far too long. And we're not going to get them out of the Democrat Party this time. They're firmly entrenched. They've got the superdelegates. They're going to get their Hillary Clinton person in there. We're not going to get them out this time. But we do have a chance to get them out of the Republican Party. We do have a chance to have one party that reflects that offers what the American people need rather than what serves the globalist agenda.
Well,
hey, we got Scott in Michigan.
Will he reboot the Whig Party?
Thanks, you guys, for taking my call.
He's got a wig.
Hey, thank you, James. Thanks for calling in.
That's his real
that was
hair.
Scott. Scott, go ahead. Scott, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. You guys are the greatest. Your use of humor and satire is getting better and better. And earlier in the evening, when they were talking about Ted Cruz, I think it was David that said he was a master debater, and then Leanne piped in and called him a cunning linguist, and that just about blew me away.
Well, and they had a nickname for him back in college, and it was
literally
Ted
blew you
Scuzz.
away.
They used to call him Ted Scuzz.
There you go. We've all had resistance for Donald Trump, and he's literally in the middle of a gang up there, and he keeps his cool more and more. He grows more and more genuine, authentic, real, and humble, and he's becoming irresistible. Those folks are all afraid. In 4 years, they're not going to have a job, and you guys are going to be running a debate, and all those people in that audience won't be allowed to come back because we'll have something real and something that is for all of us to enjoy and participate in.
Well, Trump was in the middle of the Cuban sandwich.
And I've really noticed. I've really noticed that he's calmed down in these his last few speeches,
especially tonight. Especially tonight, they didn't get under his skin at all.
You know what? You're not going to hurt me.
And we'll be hounding Hillary Clinton on whether or not she disavows Robert Byrd, what was he? The Colossus, the Grand Colossus,
exalted Cyclops,
exalted Cyclops,
the exalted Sith Lord,
exalted Sith Lord of the Klan,
of the 12th order of the third arm of the 88th degree.
Yeah, and he wasn't. He didn't just
tip of the spear.
Yeah.
You've got
in 2018. There's going to be hundreds of new Trumps. Okay, they're going to show up in city councils. They're going to show up in township elections. They're going to show up in counties. They're going to show up in the state government.
It's happening right now in Austin, Texas.
All over the world. And he and everyone else is literally a symptom of our time and our age. These things are all cyclical, and the cycle is turning. And these folks are all running, scared. And you know what? I happen to really enjoy it.
I really agree with what you said at the very end there. I think he's going to inspire a lot of people to believe that, yeah, they really can fight the system. It is not so monolithic and in control that it can't be taken down. If we see him get in, I think a lot of people are, and we're already seeing it at local levels. I know because I've worked, I tried to work within the system. I've tried to work outside of the system as a third party. I know how this thing is rigged. So many people have gotten into it, seen how rigged it is, and said, yeah, I've got other things I'm going to have to try to do with my life. But if he does this, I think it's really going to set off a rebellion. It's going to be a grassroots rebellion against the power structure. Yeah.
Guys, this Milo guy from, I can't even say his last name, Yiannopoulos or whatever, he's from Breitbart, and he is literally terrifying social justice warriors across the country because he's, openly gay. And he talks about how these people are idiots running around and just, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, he was the first one to get
beating them at their own game.
Yeah, he was the first one to get his check mark removed from Twitter. Twitter took his check mark, his verified check mark off, and then started hiding his tweets. And
yeah, there you go.
Really, that's the thing is if you just get back in their face with a little bit of facts, they just crumble. Ugh.
So they keep asking this question. So if we play dirty tricks, if we change the rules, if we steal the nomination from you and the voters, are you still going to support us, Donald? And he ought to just say, you know what?
No.
If you guys are crooks, if you steal this, if you change the rules and say, hey, we're not only the opposing team, we're also the referees. If you guys pull the same kind of crap that you did tonight on Fox News at the convention and you steal this thing, we're going to start a new. We're going to see.
David, what's going on behind closed doors? I mean,
right now
you've got Hillary at the very least, and a whole smattering of people saying behind closed doors.
Yeah.
If he gets the nomination, if he gets into the White House, we're going to prison.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For Hillary, it's the White House or the big house, and he's already made that clear.
If Trump can hear this too, because if Roger Stone or somebody can hear this, if Trump gets into that White House. Surround the White House with guards, with the military, have the most incredible bodyguards you could ever get for Trump. We're not going to let Trump get shot like JFK. Right. I'm saying we got to take this seriously.
Yeah,
I agree. No Pope Mobile, nothing like that. Just put the A-team in there to protect him. I don't care, but let's just make sure that if he gets in there, that he is fully protected.
Team America.
Yeah.
Team America.
Well, that's what I keep saying. That's my one thing is that if they don't try to rig this convention, that there is going to be some sort of a catastrophe, something where if they do steal the election, there will be some sort of a catastrophe to subdue everyone. So we're not going to fight against the fact that they stole this election.
My wife and I were watching Mitt Romney talk, and we were watching it with subtitles in a shop this morning. And as we're watching the subtitles there and we're seeing what he says, he's saying, America is not going to be safe with Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. His bombastic stuff, and we're looking at it, it's like, is this neuro-linguistic program, whatever, kind of subliminally telling people, hey, you're not going to be safe, you're going to get bombed. And then he mentions ISIS and all this other kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, the guy who gave Benghazi a pass, Mitt Romney, and he's scaring us about ISIS. Do we have another caller, Rob?
Terry in Idaho, and then we're going to end with Sarah.
Okay.
Stephanie. Those are our last two callers, and then we'll get a final comment from Kit and one from Joe Biggs, and then we'll wrap it up for the night.
Okay.
Because it's been 3 hours and 10 minutes we've been on the air.
That's right.
3 hours.
And let's tell everybody, we haven't done very many.
Real time.
We haven't done very many commercial
We haven't done many commercials. We haven't done many plugs.
We've got a flash sale. They don't last very long. I don't know when this is going to be pulled. 50% off Silver Bullet. That's our 30 parts per million colloidal silver. The biggest sale we've had at InfoWarsLife.com. 50% off Silver Bullet. Now is a great time to stock up. Just had that massive sale for leap year. Those are pretty much gone, but we do have stock on Silver Bullet, and Alex has offered that at 50% off. Get your Silver Bullet at InfoWarsLife.com.
Silver Bullet is awesome. I use it all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll give a little testimonial here. On Monday, my second son came home, had a headache, feeling bad. Started giving him a little bit of silver bullet, Everybody else in his school is getting this 4-day virus. He was only out for 1 day. So,
and I've used it. I've used it. I got a cut on my foot. I put silver on it and I use it topically. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I put a
and I didn't get an infection. It didn't even get red. So
I had a little earache and I put a little bit in my ear and it went away.
That's right.
It's amazing stuff.
Yeah,
it really is. And that's the kind of stuff that is hidden by the healthcare system. This oligarchy of health. We know doctors and gods that tell us what we have to, we have to put antibiotics in our bodies all the time.
Right.
That's right. We know that the astronauts, we have the American astronauts, they use iodine to purify the recycled urine and that they recycle into drinking water. The Russians use silver. Those are two things that we sell, two things you ought to have in your supply because they are very potent natural things. People have used them as antibiotics and as silver as a nutrient for generations. I mean, iodine as a nutrient for generations. Let's go to
Terry in Idaho.
All this voting fraud going on, I had a solution that maybe we could validate your ticket. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Validate.
Oh, don't be nervous.
You need to validate your voting ticket when you go in. Maybe that would stop some of this voting fraud. Maybe make a couple of T-shirts that says validate your ticket and hang out at the polls for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, take a picture and a video of your votes, especially these electronic votes that people are saying are switching when they go in there. Get video of that so we have documentation.
If you see that, yeah. And you make an important point, and we had a guy that was from Bulgaria. Big Mike was talking to him, and he was a computer programmer there. The only reason that, in my opinion, that you would ever have something like electronic voting is so that you could keep your vote not only secret, but you could have an audit trail for it, and then you could make it public if there were questions about the government rigging the votes. Then the people who had voted for the candidate that they're trying to keep out, like a Donald Trump, could then show people all come together and expose their votes and show the lie in a kind of an auditing process. There's no way to audit your vote in most cases, and that's a real problem. And of course, there's many different ways, many different opportunities for them to rig the vote. They can have fraudulent voters, they can have a fraudulent counting process, fraudulent stuffing of the ballots or transmission. So there's so many different places where they can cheat. And as Alex has said, and we understand this, the only reason that Trump has had the kind of success he has now is because people have been supporting him in such overwhelming numbers. If you've got a landslide election for one candidate, they can't stuff it enough at this point.
Right.
They can if they make it all electronic, but at this point they can't. And so if it's a close race, if it's very close, it's very easy for them to rig that election. And so the only reason that we're seeing this now is because it is a landslide movement for Donald Trump. People who are independents and Democrats are coming in. We're seeing that all over the country. As I pointed out at the beginning, if we look at the results that Mitt Romney had, I don't have them in my hand right now, but if you look at the first 12 states that we've had that were also had been voted on at this time, you can see that it's 70% more votes that Donald Trump has than Mitt Romney did at this point in time. In some places, he's got 150% more votes than the winner did 4 years ago. So it's been a massive turnout.
All right, our final caller for the evening is Stephanie from Oklahoma. Thanks to everybody else who called. If you didn't get in, we only have a limited amount of time.
Yeah, we're sorry. We can't stay here all night. So sorry you waited.
The next debate will be a Democratic debate too, so.
Yeah.
We'll probably get more callers in. Stephanie, go ahead.
Hey, hi guys. I'm so glad to finally get a chance to talk to you. And I noticed y'all avoided that last name, so we'll leave that alone. What I wanted to bring to your attention is earlier when you were first monitoring this debate, David Knight made a very good comment in regards to contacting Fox and asking them to disclose some of their off-the-record conversations.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. I've campaigned for Mr. Trump. Obviously, I voted for him, and that's another issue. I called in last night, I believe it was, and complained about the fact that I very much felt that what I put in when I scanned in my voting ticket did not reflect what I actually voted. So, and I was trying to contact you guys to see who to contact. Now, earlier you had mentioned going to Roger Stone's site, Stop the Steal.
Yes, .org.
That
StopTheSteal.org.
primarily just covers a donation so they can get in some people, which I am definitely going to support.
What about Bev
but
Harris?
It did not give me an area where I could
there's a black box voting.
So this could be audited.
Yeah, we've talked multiple times with Bev Harris, and that site is Black Box Voting. Is it .com or .org?
Blackboxvoting.org.
.org.
We're going to bring it up here in a second.
So yeah, she talks about all the different ways that they rig elections, and if you go to her site, she might have some information there about how to proceed if you believe that there's fraud that you've witnessed or been a part of.
Or to contest it. That's excellent. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Going back to these off-the-record conversations, my feeling is what I saw this evening was deplorable. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I am so personally offended when you get these people out here in the beginning that say, we only represent Mr. Trump because we want to give a finger to the elite.
Yeah.
Yes, I do want to give a finger to the elite, but the problem is I am an educated voter. I have gone to this man's site, and I have educated myself as far as his positions, and that did help me during the campaign process of being able to help inform people in regards to everything that they had concerns about, because it is very much in the site, on his site, and his tax plan is very impressive.
I think his plan for health care, as I went through many of the 7 points on it, he has an excellent plan on health care. And I've seen elements of this coming up in conservative think tanks for a very long time. What it does is it essentially replaces the Democrat mandates, the gun to your head, with some incentives, with some tax deductions and other things like that, and creating a competitive marketplace, giving us information as consumers so that we can operate and make the marketplace more efficient, having price transparency. We can't tell how much, we can't do a price shopping or to know how the results are from one doctor or one hospital to the other. How are you supposed to have a competitive marketplace if that information is hidden from you?
Right.
And of course, that is hidden from you by law. They don't allow insurance companies to compete across state lines, and yet they tell us that we have to have free globalist trade. And it's not free trade. It's managed by an international commission. And our trade here, in terms of insurance companies, is being managed by a federal commission. And so what Donald Trump proposed was having a true free market in insurance, to have information, price information given to consumers so they can make that choice, to give them credits, to give them health savings accounts, and to take away the mandate.
Right.
I mean, it's a great healthcare plan. And you know, they didn't say a single thing about that tonight. They had all of these. It was absolutely, I agree with you, caller. They should be ashamed of themselves.
I really want to see them pull out the graph for Bernie Sanders and his plan. Let's see if that happens next week or in the future, if they pull out the graphs for Bernie Sanders and say, how do you say you're going to fix everything, but you're going to really demolish, decimate this country with this.
Did they say anything about Michigan's water supply?
They talked about Michigan's educational system. If they talked about the water supply, I missed it.
No, well, they're having the debate in Flint on Sunday, the Democratic debate, so I'm sure that's going to be really heavily politicized.
But I was so offended that Chris Wallace would start out with this idiotic canard that has been refuted so many times about the KKK, and then they would have screen after screen after screen to attack Donald Trump. They had these prepared packages and media packages that they had already set up as they were going. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you, caller. And I apologize to the other callers who waited for so long. I know how frustrating that is. Thank you for calling, and I apologize. We just don't have an infinite amount of time. Let's go to Kit Daniels for a final word tonight.
Yes, David, I got a tweet here from Patrick. I just lost it. But he basically pointed out that Megyn Kelly won't attack Obama like she's attacking Trump.
No.
And, this is a very key point. The fact that, the GOP establishment, they would rather see Hillary in the White House than Trump.
Oh, absolutely.
You said to me before the show today the fact that the establishment, they want to get someone in there that will just rubber stamp all these treaties they got going on with the TPP, with the climate change, so on and so forth. So, you know, it's...
And rubber stamp the wars for the military-industrial complex.
Right.
That's why the neocons like Bill Kristol and the people from the CFR, that's why they say, we would rather have Hillary. Oh, we know you would rather have Hillary. And I'm telling the people in the Democrat Party, when Bernie Sanders loses, if you want to stop this military-industrial complex, you're going to have a choice. You're going to have Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton is going to rubber stamp everything the military-industrial complex and the bankers want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just, it goes back to this whole thing. There's the establishment, they want a presidential candidate who is not only compromised, but, you know, it's someone that is going to be easily controlled, you know, because he's compromised. So, you know, it's just someone that's just going to rubber stamp everything that the establishment wants.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Kit Daniels, Leanne McAdoo, Jakari Jackson, Joe Biggs, Darren McBreen. Then the rest of the crew back there in the booth, Rob
John
Dew,
Bound.
John Bound, yeah. John Bound is on the line. Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for calling in. You're our favorite caller there. Yeah. Well, that's it for our broadcast tonight. Join us again tomorrow night at 7 Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for the Infowars Nightly News.
Did you know that only 6 corporations control 90% of what millions of Americans see, hear, and read every single day? It's the illusion of choice. Think about it. The mainstream media is owned by only a handful of mega corporations with vested interests. But on the other hand, the internet is an interconnected network of billions of sources. So you can research information for yourself from multiple sources, or you can blindly accept what you hear or read in the mainstream media, never questioning what you are being told. This gives you a false sense of reality. I mean, do you actually know what you think you know? Or have you been programmed to accept someone else's version of